Our second panel I would like to introduce our second panel. Testifying on this panel is Mr. Akio Toyoda, President and CEO of Toyota Motor Corporation, and Mr. Anaba, President and CEO of Toyota Motors North America. Gentlemen, it is the committee's long-standing policy that all witnesses are sworn in. Please stand and raise your right hand as I administer the oath. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, answer in the affirmative. Let the record reflect that the witness is answered in the affirmative. You may be seated. Let me begin by first welcoming you, and I really appreciate the fact that you have come to testify, and that Mr. Toyoda, that you actually volunteered to come and to testify. That, I want you to know, we're very impressed with that. That shows your commitment, and of course to safety as well. And we want to appreciate the fact that you volunteered to come. Mr. Naba, we welcome you here as well. And we've had conversations with you, over the past few weeks and months. So at this time, we would ask you to testify. Actually, we will give you additional time. We generally give 5 minutes, but being he is all the way from Japan, we give him more time. So, Mr. Toyoda. Yes, you may begin.
His microphone.
Thank you, Chairman Towns. I'm Akio Toyoda of Toyota Motor Corporation. I'd first like to state that I love cars as much as anyone, and I love Toyota as much as anyone. I'm here with my Toyota family of dealers, plant team members, and friends. I take that most pleasure in offering vehicles that our customers love, and I know that Toyota's 200,000 team members, dealers, and suppliers across America feel the same way. However, in the past few months, our customers have started to feel uncertain about the safety of Toyota's vehicle, and I take full responsibility for that. Today, I would like to explain to the American people, as well as our customers in the U.S. and around the world, how seriously Toyota takes the quality.
We asked Mr. Toyoda, could you just pull the mic just a little closer to you? Thank you.
Today, I would like to explain to the American people, as well as our customers in the U.S. and around the world, how seriously Toyota takes the quality and safety of its vehicle. I would like to express my appreciation to Chairman Towns and Ranking Member Issa, as well as the members of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, for giving me this opportunity to express my thoughts today. I would like to focus my comments on 3 topics: Toyota's basic philosophy regarding quality control, the cause of the recalls, and how we will manage quality control going forward. First, I want to discuss the philosophy of Toyota's quality control. I myself, as well as Toyota, am not perfect. At times, we do find defects, but in such situations, we always stop, strive to understand the problem, and make changes to improve further. In the name of the company, its long-standing tradition and pride, we never run away from our problems or pretend we don't notice them. By making continuous improvements, we aim to continue offering even better products for society. That is the core value we have kept closest to our hearts since the founding days of the company. At Toyota, we believe the key to making quality product is to develop quality people. Each employee thinks about what he or she should do, continuously making improvements, and by doing so, makes even better cars. We have been actively engaged in developing people who share and can execute on this core value. It has been over 50 years since we began selling in this great country, and over 25 years since we started production here. And in the process, we have been able to share this core value with the 200,000 people at Toyota operation, dealers, and suppliers in this country. That is what I am most proud of. Second, I would like to discuss what caused the recall issues we are facing now. Toyota has, for the past few years, been expanding its business rapidly. Quite frankly, I fear the pace at which we have grown may have been too quick. I would like to point out here that Toyota's priority has traditionally been the following. First, safety. Second, quality. Third, volume. These priorities became confused, and we are not able to stop, think, and make improvements as much as we are able to before, and our basic stance to listen to customers' voice to make better products has weakened somewhat. We pursued growth over the speed at which we are able to develop our people and our organization, and we should sincerely be mindful of that. I regret that this has resulted in the safety issue described in the recalls we face today, and I am deeply sorry for any accident that Toyota drivers have experienced. Especially, I would like to extend my condolences to the members of the Saylor family for the accident in San Diego. I would like to send my prayers again, and I will do everything in my power to ensure that such a tragedy never happen again. Since last June, when I took office, I have personally placed the highest priority on improving quality over quantity. And I have shared that direction with our stakeholders. As you well know, I am the grandson of the founder, and all the Toyota vehicles bear my name. For me, when the cars are damaged, it is as though I am as well. I, more than anyone, wish for Toyota's cars to be safe and for our customers to feel safe when they use our vehicles. Under my leadership, I would like to reaffirm our value of placing safety and quality, the highest on our list of priorities, which we have held to firmly from the time we were founded. I will also strive to devise a system in which we can surely execute what we value. Third, I would like to discuss how we plan to manage quality control as we go forward. Up to now, any decision on conducting recalls have been made by the Customer Quality Engineer Division at Toyota Motor Corporation in Japan. This division confirms whether there are technical problems and makes decisions on the necessity of recall. However, reflecting on the issues today, what we lacked was the customer perspectives. To make improvements on this, we will make the following changes to the recall decision-making process. When recall decisions are made, a step will be added in the process to ensure that management will make responsible decisions from the perspective of customer safety first. To do that, we will devise a system in which customers' voice around the world will reach our management in a timely manner, and also a system in which each region will be able to make decisions as necessary. Further, we will form a quality advisory group composed of respected outside experts from North America and around the world to ensure that we do not make misguided decisions. Finally, we will invest heavily in quality in the U.S. through the establishment of an automobile center of quality excellence, the introduction of new position, product safety executive, and the sharing of more information and responsibility within the company for product quality decisions, including defects and recalls. Even more importantly, I will ensure that members of the management team actually drive the cars and that they check for themselves where the problem lies as well as its severity. I myself am a trained test driver. As a professional, I am able to check a problem in a car and can understand how severe the safety concern is in a car. I drove the vehicle in the accelerator pedal recall as well as a Prius, comparing the vehicles before and after the remedy is various environmental settings. I believe that only by examining the problems on site can one make decisions from the customer perspective. One cannot rely on reports or data in the meeting room. Through the measures I have just discussed, and with whatever results we obtain from the investigation we are conducting in cooperation with NHTSA, I intend to further improve on the quality of Toyota vehicles and fulfill a principle of putting the customer first. My name is on every car. You have my personal commitment that Toyota will work vigorously and unceasingly to restore the trust of our customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toyota. Mr. Inaba.
Chairman Towns, Ranking Member Issa, members of the committee, thank you for inviting me to testify today. My name is Yoshimi Inaba, and I'm the President and COO of Toyota Motor North America and Chairman and CEO of Toyota Motor Sales USA. As you heard today from Toyota President Akio Toyoda, and as the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigation heard yesterday from Jim Lentz, President of Chief Operating Officer of Toyota Motor Sales USA, Toyota is taking decisive steps to restore the trust of the tens of millions of Americans who purchase and drive our vehicles. Our 172 team members and dealers across North America are making extraordinary efforts to complete our current recalls as quickly and convenient as possible. We have rigorously tested our solutions and are confident that with these repairs, Toyota vehicle will remain among the safest on the road today. We're also going further by installing advanced brake override systems in all of our new North American vehicles before the end of 2010, and in an expanded range of existing models as a customer confidence measure, and taking comprehensive steps to ensure strict quality control and increased responsiveness to our customers and regulators in the future. As you have heard, Mr. Toyoda is leading a top-to-bottom review of our global quality control processes and will seek input from independent safety experts to ensure that our processes meet or exceed industry standards. As head of Toyota's North American operation, I'll be closely involved in this review, working with our new Chief Quality Officer for North America. I also will take responsibility for ensuring that we improve our dialogue with U.S. safety regulators and that we take prompt action on any issue we identify to ensure the safety of American drivers. In inviting me to testify today, the committee asked me to address several issues with regard to our recent recalls. Let me summarize my answers here. Our recent recalls address 5 separate issues that we have identified with certain Toyota vehicles. In total, some 5.3 million vehicles across 14 models are affected by one or more of these recalls in the United States. The biggest recalls are for solutions our engineers have developed with regard to 2 specific mechanical causes of unintended acceleration. One involves all-weather or inappropriate accessory floor mats that, when loose or improperly fitted, can entrap the accelerator pedal. The other concerns axle pedals that can over time grow sticky with wear in rare instances. The solutions we have developed for both these issues are effective and durable. With respect to possible accelerator pedal entrapment by the floor mat, Toyota recently designed a vehicle-based change that directly addresses the problem and announced the solution to the public in November 2009 as part of the safety campaign, announced on September 29, 2009. Owners of affected vehicles can, in the meantime, drive safely by ensuring that they use only properly secured, appropriate floor mats. With respect to sticking accelerator pedal, Toyota announced a safety recall in the United States in January to address this issue. The sticking condition does not occur suddenly, and if it does, the vehicle can be controlled with firm and steady application of the brakes. We are confident that vehicles whose drivers are not experience any issues with their accelerator pedal are safe to drive, and Toyota dealers are rapidly completing the repairs on our customers' vehicles. In both these cases, Toyota thoroughly and carefully evaluated the technical aspect of these issues. However, we now understand that we must think more for a customer-first perspective rather than a technical perspective in investigating complaints, and that we must communicate faster, better, and more effectively with our customers and our regulators. Our recent smaller voluntary recalls of certain 2010 Prius and Lexus HS hybrids for a software update to our braking system, certain 2000 Camry cars to inspect the power steering hose, and certain 2010 Tacoma trucks to inspect the front drive shaft all illustrate this new approach. Chairman Towns, Ranking Member Issa, and members of the committee, I assure you that nothing matters more to Toyota than the safety and reliability of the vehicles our customers drive. We are committed not only to fixing vehicles on the road and ensuring they are safe, but to making our new vehicles better and even more reliable through a redoubled focus on putting our customers first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and let me thank both of you for your testimony. Let me begin by saying, have you told NHTSA everything you know about sudden acceleration problems? Have you told NHTSA?
it is to me.
In both.
いいですか？
私の理解では情報は全部シェアさせていただいているというふうに理解をしております。
According to my understanding,
Put the mic close.
according to my understanding,
Put the mic, yeah.
we fully share the information we have with the authorities.
Our Washington office has been always in touch with NHTSA, and we are fully cooperating with NHTSA in any information they require.
Has Toyota disclosed all information about other potential safety defects with your vehicles to the regulators? Have you done that?
Those percentages that you said was in here, and I can't find it.
Well, it was when I gave you this.
その具体的にどうだということは分かりかねますが、先ほど申しましたより、情報はシェアさせていただいているという理解をしております。
I do not know the specifics. However, as I mentioned earlier, I do understand that all the information we have are shared with the authorities.
Let me ask this question. Today, Attorney General Andrew Cuomo of New York announced an agreement with Toyota, and this agreement provides that if a customer might be afraid to drive his or her car, subject to a recall, the dealer will pick up their cars, fix them, and return them to the customers. Now, the customer will then be reimbursed for any taxi or rental car expenses that they might incur. Will you commit to doing this for customers nationwide? I'll repeat. If you want me to repeat it, I will be delighted to do
That's
so.
right, being translated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chairman, let me address that questions because I'm
delighted.
more local here.
Be delighted.
Yes. I heard a number of instances that when this recall news came out, I think a number of customers who were very afraid, and our dealers are fully behind it, and dealers took care of the customers very well. In many instances, dealers went to pick up their cars and then also gave them a Toyota rent-a-car for the time that they're not able to do. And this recall process is rigorously going on. I think there is a good understanding now on the part of the customers that the cars are being fixed well, and they are confident about that.
But I guess my question is, are you just doing this in New York, or is this something that you're going to do?
No, this is happening
Nationwide.
all over the world. I mean, all over the nation, nationwide. Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make certain, we have that understanding, because I understand it's going on in New York. And the last question that I have for you is that, Mr. Toyota, you have offered a brake override feature for some recalled vehicles. Why haven't you offered that feature for all Toyota vehicles?
Mm. ちょっと説明させていただきます。予期せぬいわば加速の原因というのは大きく分けて4つあるというふうに思っております。
Allow me to explain the situation a little bit. The factors contributing to the unexpected acceleration, I believe, can be roughly classified into 4 categories.
その一つがいわゆる電子スロットルの異常によるあれです。もう一つは、やはり使い方とか使い間違いとかいうようなことが2番目に挙げられます。3番目はやはり車の構造上の問題、そして 4つ目が部品の構造上の問題の、いわば4つがあるというふうに理解をしております。
First, problem with electronic throttle system. Secondly, the way in which a car is used or misusage of the car. And thirdly, the structural aspect of the vehicle. And fourthly, the structural aspect of the parts used in the vehicle. So these, I understand, are four major factors contributing to unexpected acceleration.
それでその電子スロットルは、私ども少しでも異常があると燃料供給を停止するいわば安全第一のコンセプトで設計をしております。でまたそれは大変厳しい社内の調査でも日産との調査でもこれまで誤作動は見つかっておりませんので、設計上の問題はないというふうに確信をしております。
And of that, the electronic throttle control system is designed based upon the concept of safety first, and therefore, whenever there is any abnormality or anomaly there in that system, the fuel supply to the system is cut off. And even under very vigorous testing conducted internally or by NHTSA, no problem and malfunction was identified, and therefore I'm absolutely confident that there is no problem with the design of the ETC system.
ただそれ以外の3つの、その理由でお客様が万が一、予期せぬ加速が起きたらどうするかという不安を持っている事実を重視しまして、さらに安全を強化するために、チェアマンおっしゃいましたBOS を追加することに決めました。
However, placing emphasis upon the fact that customers do have concern as to the possibility of unexpected acceleration, which may result from the remaining 3 reasons, in order to offer extra measure of confidence, as the chairman has just mentioned, we decided to add brake override system.
Yeah, let me see. Is that a yes or no? I think that's what I'm trying to get to. I mean, is it a yes or no? Because I'm on
私
Congress
は
license
自分は技術屋でありませんので、技術上どこで、全部やるのか、その辺は細かい説明はできませんが、お客様に安心して乗ってもらうために、一生懸命考えてくれという指示をしてまいりました。で、先日発表した通りの車は、お客様が安心して乗っていただく、車、に BOS が装着されたという理解をしております。
I yield to Congressman Heitzer, but I'm trying to find out, is that a yes or no?
Let me address in a different perspective. We are, just for the record, we are putting brake override system on all the models for North America coming off the line by the end of this year. And now, probably your question is retroactively, what about the existing models? We have already announced Camry, Avalon, and then ES300, and then IS. Those are already included in as an additional measure when we do recalls. And now we have recently announced Tacoma, which has a very high complaint rate, and then added to Venza and Sequoia. This covers probably about, my recollection is correct, 72% of the recall population, and any older one, technically it is not possible. And therefore, we think we have covered. But we do not, stop it there. We carefully monitor the situation. By the next year, with this new model, with BOS coming in, with this retroactive actions, I think we'll be quite sure that it will be very much lower than the industry average.
Otherwise, most not all. I yield to the gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the chairman has proven that he can ask a question so complex as to even be difficult for people of your great knowledge, and it doesn't surprise me. Let me ask in a different way the same question so that we all on the dais have clarity. And Mr. Naba, I will put this one to you. Isn't it true, in order to use a advanced brake override system like this, your cars depend on electronic systems. They depend on microprocessors, and they depend on engine control modules that can actually simultaneously reduce fuel when sensing through the data bus that the brake has been pushed. Isn't that correct?
You are much better technically savvy than I am. I think I believe so.
So I think for all of us here who are concerned, of course, about fail-safe and acceleration caused by electronics, I think, I'm asking you, isn't it fair to say that although electronics could at times be a problem, and your people have not eliminated that, the solution is in fact electronics in this case, and that's what's going to give the higher level of safety?
Well, I can only say that this is an added measure to customer confidence, and of course, I do not mean to say it solves all the problems.
Yes. Well, and I understand that in the earlier testimony there were some discrepancies, perhaps, between how Secretary LaHood would explain certain technical occurrences and how you would. Is that correct, that you would like to be able to correct the record on some areas of Secretary LaHood's testimony?
I'm not quite understand what specific comments are you referring to?
Well, I guess I would welcome that if you would like to, we would offer you the opportunity to submit for the record any technical corrections in what Secretary LaHood's questions and answers were during the earlier testimony.
Well, we'd be glad to sort of for record.
Thank you. And then I would ask that we put up the unattended acceleration exhibit that I showed earlier. And I put this up for both of you because in your current advertisement on TV, you said something which I thought was extremely profound and a high goal. You said that good companies fix their mistakes and great companies learn from them. In the case of the unattended acceleration, in 2007, there was a problem in the United States for which the floor mats were changed. There was a problem in Japan with a different model, but similar in floor pedal, in which the Toyota pedal itself was shortened. And now, in the case of all these models, there is an electronic upgrade additionally to prevent an accident like we had in 2009. Would that be the outcome today, the outcome of the recall, including the electronics upgrade to advanced brake override? Is that the type of learn from your mistake that we can expect in the future on any problem that develops?
社長、ちょっと一応一般的なことでいいですか。
この2007年とかその辺のことはですね、ちょっと分かりかねますが、一般的に、トヨタは、そういう問題が起こったときにはですね、真摯な態度で、臨んでいくということがございます。
I do not know this situation you referred to about 2007, but generally speaking, whenever a problem occurs, Toyota addresses those problems in the most sincere manner and attitude.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
I came to know this Japan's problem to be shameful only in the previous hearing you mentioned, and
yes,
that was the very first time that I ever heard. And therefore, let me look into that, if it is correct or not. But at the same time, I think we're the company that we learn great lessons from this incident, and we try to do more. So I think this is, we are committed that we try to remain as great company, not as just good company. So I think we have a full commitment of our president, and then he has just said, and we have many, many measures already taking place. I don't want to go into
I appreciate that. And I have a copy of documents that you have provided to us concerning the Toyota Blade, which is the Japanese-only vehicle, and we'll deliver that to you for your further update. My second and only other question, Secretary LaHood talked about wanting to but not necessarily having the transparency of worldwide sales and problems. Will you agree Mr. Toyota, to be the company that leads by providing the U.S. NHTSA with full transparency of your worldwide observations and help set a model for all the major companies here in the U.S.?
はい、そのご質問に対してはイエスと答えたいと思います。以前、リコールおよびこういう問題解決におきましては、多分に技術的見地、そして各地域の法令に準しているかという2点でやってまいりました。そういう意味からいきますと、そのより地域の情報をよりタイムリーに得るための体制を今整えつつありまして、グローバルクオリティ委員会というのを私はチェアでやることを決定し、第1回を3月の30日に予定をしております。その時までにここのアメリカおよび各地域での体制を整え、こういう問題に正面から、そしてオープンに取り組んでいくという体制を今整えたところでございます。
To that question, I clearly say yes. In the past cases of recall or problem solution, in making decisions, we based our decision on two issues: the technical consideration and also whether or not the regulations and statutes of different parts of the world are complied with. And in that sense, going forward, we intend to exchange and share information more timely throughout the world, and we are now setting up the system for that purpose. And for that specific purpose, we are going to establish the Special Committee on Global Quality, which I personally will be heading. And the very first meeting of that will be held on March the 30th. And for that purpose, we are now setting up the structure where the United States and other parts of the world will be represented in the meeting of that Special Committee of for Global Quality. And we are now introducing this system so that we really face up to this problem openly and transparently.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence.
I recognize the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Kanjorski.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, welcome to the United States. I have to compliment you, Mr. Toyota, for deciding to come here and testify. Actually, it's quite a unique experience in terms you'll be able to brag about the fact that you withstood the interrogation of a congressional committee. That's a badge of courage in the United States. But if you'd heard any of the examiner's questions of the Secretary, and I think now of yourselves, we're a little disturbed about some things, and I am too, although I'm very sympathetic to the fact that we want to encourage international business. We want to certainly open our markets to your manufacturing from Japan or your ownership of manufacturing facilities in the United States. But I thought I heard this morning the Secretary say that you had a problem in Japan that was detected in '07. And then subsequently the same problem was detected in Europe, but there was no communication of that problem or the prospect of that problem being contained in American manufactured automobiles or your products being sold in the American market. If that impression that I have is true, that's very troubling to me. I would like you, as best you can, and I understand the difference in language, to explain whether or not you're giving the American automobile purchaser, your customer, and the American market the same level of attention that you give to the Japanese market or the European market. And if you didn't in the past, what are you going to do to make sure that difference doesn't occur in the future? We can't afford to have a lag of a year or 2 years of finding out something that is defective in an automobile. I suspect the stock price is reflecting that to you, that it can be very costly. I hope it doesn't destroy a great deal of the equity of your company and move on and move beyond this question. But I want to hear in my own mind that there hasn't been this difference between the home market and the American market, or the home market and the European market, or your experiences in the home market and the European market, and the ignoring of the American market and the American customer, if I may.
アメリカのみならず、私にとっては世界のお客様に本当に、同じサービスを同じ深度で行いたいというふうに、思っております。ただ、コングレスマンご指摘のとおり、今までの拡大のスピードが、多少その人の成長のスピードにちょっと届かなかった、というところは、現在認識をしております。そして、私が昨年7月に社長になってから、いわば副社長を各地域の担当を持たせることにより、より地域の情報というのが入りやすいような形に体制を敷いております。それに加えまして、今回の品質問題に限りましては、お客様の不安とか、その苦情になる前のお客様の声をよりタイムリーに、本社側に伝わるような体制を整えております。
We provide the same services with the same degree of care to the customers not only in the United States, but customers world over. However, as Congressman has just pointed out, our speed of expansion outpaced our development and training of people working for us. And right now, I'm fully aware of that. In July last year, I became president, and since then, I appointed executive vice presidents responsible for each region of the world, and by doing so, we established a system where information of different regions can come into the head office, can be captured in a more timely manner. And on top of that, specifically about this quality issue that we are faced with at the moment, with respect to concerns of the customers or customers' voices before they are expressed in terms of complaints, we are going to capture those so that information be conveyed to the head office in a timely manner. And we are putting in place a system to enable us to do that.
Let me address, if I may, specific issues of defect information sharing, which was also a ranking member's Isa's question. I think we should have done a better job in sharing those cross-regional defect information.
What have you determined was the cause that you did? What was it? A culture? Is it psychology? Is it something that happened in the communications breakdown? It just seems absolutely essential.
When you go into a certain database, you can find it, but it is not, I must say, I don't know very well, but positively shared. Now, going forward, what we are going to do is one of the things I'd like to sort of report to you that we are making now. One American we call product safety executive is a part of recall decision making as part of the global committee headed by one Japanese, one American, and maybe later added from other regions like Europe and China. And then in that, all the information are shared there so that we can evaluate and know what's going on in other part of the world in more transparent way. So this is the change that we are making, now.
Let me ask you just a side question for me. Does Japan have a tort system similar to the United States, where a suit can be brought for damages by these injuries and loss of life?
製造物賠償責任のようなそういったその問題があったときに訴えられるというような説がありますか。まあ不法行為法とトートシステムとおっしゃったんですけれども、訴訟できるのか。
あると認識をしております。
I believe we do.
We have a little bit of a contest sometime going on in the United States. We call it tort reform. And it's an argument that my friends on the other side very often use in the medical argument field, that if you had tort reform and you just allow some people to die or get severely injured without recovery, that would correct things. I think you are making the best argument in the world I've ever heard of why we should have the present tort system. And I hope you recognize what kind of payment for the injuries and the damages suffered by innocent American citizens who, like myself, have grown up in an atmosphere that we had a great deal of faith in something that was stamped made in Japan, that it was of the highest reliability. And you injured that thought process in the American public. And you will be called upon under our system to pay compensation for that.
I now yield to the gentleman from Indiana on that note.
Let me just preface my remarks by saying we really need tort reform.
We should just forgive these companies and let them kill our people.
Never mind. We just have a difference of opinion. First of all, let me thank you both for being here. I think it's very good that you came. It shows real concern on the part of Toyota. And I also want to compliment Toyota dealers around the country. I went to a couple of Toyota dealers this last week to take a look at what's going on, and they're working day and night to correct these mistakes. And so to your Toyota dealers, I want to say thank you for working so hard to correct these problems. Now, after having said that, first of all, I have a case here that took place in 1997. I don't want to go into all the details on it, but a woman was injured in an automobile accident involving a Toyota. She lost both legs, and I would like for you to review that, and if you wouldn't mind giving me a response. Would you do that for me?
Yes,
okay, I'll have my staff give this to you so that we can talk about that. The second thing I want to do is, I don't understand this. I went to the Toyota dealer, and this is the floor pedal mechanism that's used in Japan and in some cars here in America. This is one that's manufactured by CTS here in the United States, and it is CTS, and they have done a good job on this. This pedal here has been involved in the accidents, I believe, that have caused the fatalities. This one here, there's been sticking, and they've been putting a shim in there, a little metal piece in to correct that. And my question is, why the difference? These are going in the same model car, and why do they have different specifications? Because this one here has caused the problems that's created some deaths, and this one here has had some sticking problems which have been corrected, but it's different. And so when you're manufacturing the same car, why is it that they don't meet the same exact specifications? It seems to me that would be easier to correct than having one that's made one way and one that's made another way.
同じものなんですけど、
車はですね、ご存知のように2万点から3万点の部品から成り立っております。で、その車の設計は、仕入れ先と協力してやっていることをまずご理解賜りたいと思います。
As a congressman already knows, a car consists of some 20,000 to 30,000 parts, and I would like you to understand 20,000 to 30,000 parts. And I would like you to first of all know that we work together with the suppliers in designing those parts.
ですから部品によっては
If I might interrupt, I understand that you work with the suppliers, but the designs are different. This one here has a different mechanism in the bottom than this one. And I'm just wondering why, if it's the same model car, there is a difference.
ですから、部品によっては、仕入れ先さんが設計をして、トヨタがそれを承認するという方法と、トヨタの中のエンジニアが設計するという2つの方法がございます。今回そのペダルに関しましては、 両方とも仕入れ先さんの設計を私どもが承認するという形を取らさせていただいています。共に日本とアメリカに使用するに値する優秀な仕入れ先さんが2社おられたということで、2つの設計されたペダルが出てきたというふうにご理解いただきたいと思います。
Some parts are designed by our suppliers with Toyota approving that, and in other cases, Toyota's own engineers design those parts. So there are two approaches used. In the case of this specific pedal, the suppliers designed the pedal and Toyota approved that. And in both cases, we were able to identify two excellent suppliers whose parts were worthy of us to use in the United States and Japan, and therefore those two parts designed by our suppliers were used in this pedal.
それと私どもその仕入れ先さんとともに成長していこうという考え方がございます。そういう意味では一つの仕入れ先さんだけに発注するのではなく、同じ機能を果たす部品を作っている他のメーカーといわば複社発注というのが、いろんなところで行われていることもご理解賜りたいというふうに思います。
And on top of that, it is a philosophy to grow together with our suppliers. And in that sense, rather than placing order with one single suppliers, we source the same parts from multiple suppliers. That is to say, when there are suppliers that can supply parts that perform the same function, we do that. And this is another point I would appreciate your understanding.
No, if I might real quickly just say I understand, but when there's a problem of this magnitude where people have been killed because of a part, and there's another part that didn't result in fatalities, but there was a sticking, it seems to me it would be easier to correct the problem if there was more consistency in the two parts.
これほど大きな問題が起こったときにその設計が違うんではなくて設計そのものが一致している方が問題解決しやすいのではないかと思ったので聞いたんです。
Okay, thank you very much. The gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Maryland, Congressman Cummings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank both of you for being with us this afternoon. And to Mr. Toyota, I have read your testimony and I've listened to it, and I can appreciate you saying and meaning that you're sorry. The problem is that it's one thing to say you're sorry. It's another thing when it seems as if time after time there are pronouncements that problems are being addressed, and over again they seem like they're not being addressed. 2007, a fatal crash involving a Camry. Because allegedly of formats, a person was killed. And we can't get away from these facts. September 2007, you then, 55,000 cars are recalled. And I know this was before your presidency. August 2009, California fatal crash, 4 people were killed, Saylor family. September 2009, 4.2 million cars recalled. And we could go on and on. And then just yesterday, Mr. James Lentz III said something that was very interesting, and basically what he said was that even with the sticky pedal and the floor mat problem, that this may not account for all of the problems. So, and he implied that maybe there were some electronic problems taking place. The question becomes, at what point and I know also you want to regain the trust of your customer base, but that trust is hard to establish or reestablish when they see over and over again these kinds of situations, and they say, well, why should we believe that things are going to get better? And I know that there have been members on this dais who have said that they've had some good things that Toyota has done, but I've got people in my district who, by the way, are saying they call and they have to wait to get their cars repaired. But at the same time, they have to take the children to the babysitter. They've got to go and do their marketing. I mean, this is just practical things that are happening. So I'm just asking you, how do you say to your customers, the people who take their hard-earned dollars in a tough economic time and spend them on a Toyota vehicle, how do you say to them that we can trust you now when, and I say this most respectfully, when it seems as if there is no end to this series of promises, and then promises that seem to come short of reaching the goal of safety?
いろいろとその対応するとお約束をなさいましたけれども、どうもその安全性という目標にも達成してないようです。
まずトヨタのお車で本当に事故に遭われた方、に関しては本当に申し訳ないというふうに思っております。まず
I sincerely regret that some people actually encountered accidents in Toyota vehicles.
で先ほども申しましたけれども、電子スロットルの部分は、少しでも異常があると燃料供給を停止する安全第一のコンセプトでまず設計をしております。
As I mentioned earlier, with respect to the electronic throttle control system, the system itself has been designed based upon the philosophy of safety first, and therefore, whenever any abnormality or anomaly is detected, fuel supply is instantly cut off.
しかしながら現実は、事故は起きているわけでございますので、私ども徹底的に、何をやっても再現するような、指示のもと、いろんな再現テストを昨日まで、やってきております。で今まで、トヨタ社内でやってきた限り、問題はございません。ですから先ほどから電子スロットの問題ないというふうに申し上げているのは、いろんなテストを現地現物でやった結果、現在のところ問題ないということを申し上げているのでございます。
That notwithstanding, accidents actually happened, and therefore I instructed that every effort be made thoroughly to reproduce and duplicate the accidents. And up until yesterday, those duplication tests have been repeated and conducted. However, no malfunction or problems were identified based upon the tests conducted internally within Toyota. And therefore, based upon such thorough examination and testing conducted within Toyota, I have been saying that I have no question with respect to the integrity of our ETC system.
ただ、今後、当局とも協力しながら、すでに発表させていただきましたが、イベントデータレコーダーを一点一点、精査して、調査し、またその活動は、どんどん情報開示をしていくということは、積極的に進めて、トランスパランシーをより高めた企業に変えていきたいというふうに思っております。
And therefore, in cooperation with the authorities concerned, we already announced that we are going to thoroughly examine and investigate the outcome and data recorded in event data recorder. And the findings will be made public and disclosed in a prompt and timely manner. And changes will be made in a very transparent manner so that be assured going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I now yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Micah.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request unanimous consent to include in the record the specific information on the administration's proposed 2011 budget request, which cut National Highway Transportation Safety Administration's Vehicle Research Program, and also further reduced the amount for vehicle safety research in the budget. I didn't have this further. If that could be inserted also in the budget, in the budget information in the record appropriate to my previous questioning of the Secretary. Without objection.
I will review it and then we will, but I reserve the right to reject.
All right. Well, again, okay. Then I'll proceed. This is indeed a very embarrassing day for the United States National Highway Safety Transportation Administration. It's equally a very embarrassing day for Toyota to have the son of the founder of Toyota here as a chief officer to come before the United States Congress. I'm embarrassed for you, sir. I'm embarrassed for my dealers that I've talked to. I'm embarrassed for thousands of people, hardworking Americans who work in, I guess, over 10 plants across the United States. I thought we were doing pretty good because Toyota was taking quite a hit, and I'll put in the record later on your safety record and some of the things you've done positively, information that I got, until I was shaving the other day and heard the news of the memo that was prepared by a gentleman who I didn't even know his name. Bring over a copy of the July 6 Inaba memo. I hadn't read this, actually, the details of it today. Mr. Inaba, this is one of the most embarrassing documents I've ever seen. In your preparation of this, you embarrassed all the people I represent, those hardworking people across this country. This is absolutely appalling, sir, that you would identify, and I know you were on the job only a few days, but key safety issues, and identify as one of them on page 14 of the document you prepared. You identified the problem of the safety issue with regard to these pedals. Then on page 16, wins for Toyota Safety Group. How could you possibly put in writing this and list as wins for Toyota, particularly under the defects entry and negotiated equipment recall on Camry ES-SA saved $100 million with no defect found. I think you've done a great injustice, sir, in this. I don't know if it was, it's not a rookie mistake. Obviously, you've been with the company, but to prepare this document, to undermine the good working people and the reputation. Toyota has an outstanding reputation and actually has had a great safety record. But this discredits everyone. How would you respond, sir?
Yes, sir. First of all, let me get the facts straight. This is the only few days after my arrival to the company. And then...
Had you been with Toyota before?
Yes, I have.
How long?
40 years in total, sir. But this is after 2 years of office away from Toyota. I also first became the president of Toyota Motor North America, and then I visited one of the few days to Washington office. I had no idea what the company was, and that's why our staff wanted to give me a orientation material.
I was stunned to find your name on the front page.
Addressed to me.
I did not know that till today.
Yes, sir. Okay. And point is that, you know, I was in the middle of orientation tour. Yes, I mean, I didn't make it very clear. my name is on it, it is presented to me, not me made it. That's all I want.
But you were aware of this. This is again, this is information you had in your company prepared. If in the future any company prepared a document like this and presented it to anyone in the company, to me it would be one of the most injurious things you could do to anyone's reputation. I know it says on the side confidential and all of that, but do you realize the people that have been let down, me, the people in my district who go to work every day in those Toyota operations, the sales, and already the reputation has been severely damaged by what's been done here.
Honestly, with my honesty, I do not recall the meeting in any depth, but at the same time now, I see that. I think I must say to you that it is so inconsistent with the guiding principle of Toyota, and my feeling is, and therefore...
It's just, to me, it's unbelievable.
Yes,
finally,
I feel the same.
Toyota, you're in charge of the company and have that responsibility. Can you assure the committee that this is not the approach, this will not be the approach of Toyota now or in the future?
Because now I'm getting more familiar, I'm a president of that company, I am going to rectify that if there's any tone of it.
The gentleman's time is
Mr. Toyota.
Gentleman's time is expired, and let me just make an announcement before we move any further. There's a vote on the floor, and there's actually 3 votes, and we plan to continue, and of course the gentlewoman from Washington, D.C. will assume the chair. So, but I also want to let the gentleman from Florida know that his time has long expired.
Yes, sir. And if Mr. Toyota could just answer that.
その書類は私把握しておりません。ですからちょっとコメントはわからないんですが、ある新しい社長が着任した時というのは、その内容をプレゼンテーションするというのはごくごくどこの部署でも普通に行われているというふうに思いますが、その書類の中身によって企業全体のそのものがそう揺らぐというものではないというふうに一般論ではございますが、思っております。
I do not know about that specific document you referred to, and I do not know the comment. However, generally speaking, when a new person takes office as president, it is customarily done in any division to make presentations on various contents or substances going on in the company. However, generally speaking, the substance and contents of such documents does not affect the entire company in a way to cause drifting of the company itself.
The gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Kucinich, has 5 minutes. You can, or you can, if you only have a few minutes left. I'm calling on people who are left. Well, I'm going to go to Mr. Connolly then, since it goes on this side. We are. You are. Mr. Connolly, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Toyoda, welcome to the committee. When did it first come to your attention that there was a problem with acceleration of your vehicles?
私7月から社長を任命されております。ですから、それまでの情報とそれ以降社長として知っている情報には随分大きな差がございます。そういう意味で会社としては知ってたことと私個人社長として知ってたところは分かれると思いますが、 私が知っている限りのことははっきり申し上げます。知らないところに関してもしっかりとですね調べてご報告するということであります。
I was appointed president in July, and there is a major difference between the sort of information I had received prior to assuming the position of president and the information I get to receive after becoming president. And therefore, there may be some difference between the information that company may have had as a company and the information I personally had as president. However, I will clearly state whatever I know, and even in those cases where I do not know or I do not have any knowledge of, I will look into the matter and supply the report to you.
ですからいつだというご質問に対しましては、昨年末あたりということだと思います。
So, responding specifically to your question of when, I would say sometime toward the end of last year.
Toward the end of 2009.
2009年の終わりと。
はい、はい、そうです。
That is correct.
Okay. Were you aware of the fact that there had been complaints by consumers long prior to that time?
それよりもずっと前からお客様からの苦情が入っていたということは認識しておられましたか？
現在は認識をしております。ですが、社長になる前にそういう情報が入ってたかというと、正直、認識が今のレベルではございません。
Right now, I'm aware of that. However, did I have that sort of information before I became president? I didn't have that sort of information with the same degree of accuracy that I do now.
But you had some awareness. We just heard from Secretary LaHood prior to your testimony, and he talked about the fact that NHTSA sent a team to Tokyo to meet with the top leadership of Toyota to bring to their attention as forcefully as they could the fact that there was a problem and that it needed to be attended to. That meeting was prior to your testimony just now that you only learned about this problem in December of last year. Were you not aware of the fact that NHTSA had sent a team to Tokyo headquarters?
ニッツァが東京にチームを送ったと、そして問題に関してミーティングを行ったとさっき言われたんですけれども、そのミーティングそのもの、今社長は12月頃問題を知ったとおっしゃったんですけれども、そういったミーティングのこともご存じなかったわけです。
この件に関しましては、いわば主管部署が品質管理部門になります。ですから品質管理部門のあるものが、ニッツァの訪問を受けて話し合ってたということは存じ上げておりますが、その内容、その時期に対しては、私はちょっと分かっておりません。大変申し訳ありません。
On that specific point, that was a matter handled by the division in charge of quality assurance, and certain person in that division, I understand, received the visit from NHTSA representatives and had discussion with them. I know that. However, I do not know the specific content of the discussion nor the timing of that meeting.
Well, there seems to be some discrepancy. Again, we're trying to get at what did we know and when did we know it to sort of gauge the quality of the company's response to this serious problem on behalf of its customers. And obviously, we have an interest as American congressmen and women to protect our constituents who are your customers. And we know that the company certainly was made aware by U.S. officials through NHTSA who flew to Tokyo for this express purpose. And you're telling us in your testimony you didn't know about it. You were aware of that trip and that meeting, but you weren't aware of the fact that there was a serious acceleration problem with your vehicles until just a few months ago, December of 2009. Is that correct? Because if it is correct, given your position in the company and your family's association with the company, that would constitute extraordinary compartmentalization.
12月になるまではそのアクセルの問題はご存じなかったとおっしゃったわけですけど、その通りですか？
はい、その通りでございます。
12月まで知らなかったわけですよね。
私自身はニッツァの方とミーティングがあったということは認識しておりますが、その内容については把握をしておりません。
I personally know that there was a meeting with NHTSA representatives, but I do not know the content of that meeting.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one more question, and that's of Mr. Inaba. I'm looking at this confidential document that was made available to the committee.
Yes.
That my colleague was just referring to. And on one of the pages, it has just a series of ticks like this. And the bottom tick in your briefing, I understand what you said, it says secured safety rulemaking favorable to Toyota. What, and I'm going to run out of time, but could you at least answer, what was your understanding of what that meant?
As I said, I don't recall the meeting in any depth, and I had no idea about this recall process and back then. Therefore, I have very little knowledge about it. And funny enough that I only recall quiet cars in that whole list of that. Of course now I made aware that there was a description of that, but I don't recall it.
Madam Chairman, I know my time is up, but I would just note for the record that this document is dated July 6 of 2009.
Gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd like to thank you and also Ranking Member Issa, members of the committee, for the allowing me to join from my position on the Ways and Means Committee on this oversight hearing on Toyota's recalls. I have the honor of representing Toyota's North American headquarters in Erlanger, Kentucky, and wanted to voice some perspective from our region. Toyota directly employs more than 172,000 in plants and dealerships in the United States, and Toyota has an integral part in our economy in Kentucky and investment in the United States of America. They've maintained operations at a world-class level of quality in the Commonwealth for nearly 25 years. The Georgetown facility now manufactures engines in addition to automobiles, all part of a $5.4 billion investment in our state. Toyota has been an exceptional corporate citizen in Kentucky. They've given more than $37 million to local charitable groups with missions ranging from education to social services. And not only has Toyota supported local charitable needs, but Toyota has also been one of the Commonwealth's strongest job creators. Toyota North American headquarters is in Erlanger, Kentucky, and the Hebron's Parts Center supplies distributors across the continent from my hometown of Hebron, Kentucky. In all, more than 8,000 Kentuckians work directly for Toyota, and almost 1,500 are in Kentucky's 4th Congressional District. Additionally, 90 Toyota suppliers are located in Kentucky, creating more than 10,000 additional jobs. Toyota's decades-long reputation for quality, safety, and service is based on their high standards of quality and innovation and based on their corporate ethic of discipline, honor, and humility. They've had a positive and transformational effect on virtually every aspect of American manufacturing, and I can speak to this as one of the few manufacturing professionals who serves in the Congress. Toyota is, as Congress conducts these hearings related to Toyota's recall, we need to keep in mind Toyota's willingness to do something unusual in American business politics in the Congress, and that's to actually take responsibility and ownership for the problem and continue their longstanding commitment to quality and, more importantly, for the well-being of their customers. Careless words and unfounded allegations by those who may have other agendas can do irreparable harm to job creation in Kentucky and in the United States. At a time when quality jobs are in short supply and unemployment in Kentucky and the Ohio Valley remains above 10%, the jobs created by Toyota are more important than ever. Echoing the concerns voiced by Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear and other governors across the United States in a recent letter to Congress, I urge the members of this committee and my other colleagues to be thorough in their investigations of these issues and to arrive at conclusions based on evidence that is uncovered rather than circumstantial speculation or sensationalism. Let's focus on the facts rather than giving way to the temptation to engage in political theater. Congress must exercise appropriate oversight in determining if National Highway Transportation Security Administration or Safety Administration is able to effectively identify and comprehensively investigate automobile safety issues facing Americans. And moreover, America needs clear and consistent automotive safety standards applied to all manufacturers in this country, not simply one, to ensure the safety of the entire American public. I appreciate your willingness to come and participate in this today and the contribution of your business to our country's economic strength and wealth. And with that, Madam Chair, I thank you and yield back.
Thank you for your comment.
The gentleman's time has expired. Ms. Maloney of New York.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to testify today. Earlier, in response to the chairman's question, you said the dealers in America are responding to any of the problems and making the customer whole, assuming all costs for repair and trying to subsidize for their time and so forth. My question is, what about the American families or individuals who died or were injured since the company knew about the problem? Will you assume their medical costs, their funeral costs?
葬式代とか医療費ですか。亡くなった人とか怪我をした人に対して。
本当にそのトヨタ社とともに、人生を終わられた、セイラーさん、ご家族には本当に申し訳ないと思っておりますし、心からご冥福をお祈りしたいというふうに思っております。また、今後二度とこういうことが起こらないような形で最大限今の技術力と今の従業員、シーラー式みんな心を合わせて一つずつ改善していきたいというふうに思っております。
Yes.
Truly speaking, I feel very sorry for the members of the sailor family who ended their life with Toyota vehicle, and I extend the condolences from the deepest part of my heart. Working closely together with engineers, Toyota team members, and suppliers in making maximum efforts so that such a tragedy never ever be repeated.
But you did not answer my question of whether or not you would assume the cost of the hospital repair of the body, the expenses of the individuals.
Well, many of those cases are pending legal issues, and so we will leave it to our legal counsel for its information.
Earlier, when this came forward, you had this report examination done, and I'd like to know if you think this report on the problems and the solutions was sufficient. Earlier, Commissioner LaHood testified he was depending on the research of Toyota, so I'm asking whether you feel that this is sufficient. And secondly, I'd like to go back to a field technical report that came in from Europe. And in it, the mechanics are really very clearly stating that there is a problem. And I want to know why this information was not gotten out to people, to America, to the dealers, to everyone immediately, and specifically, how many complaints trigger an investigation? Is there a standard? When someone complains and says there's a problem, what happens? How many complaints have to come in before you start reaching out?
First of all, let me address this cross-regional information sharing. As I stated before, we could have done much better job, and we are now taking steps to improve it, as I said before. And to the specific question of how many number of reports do you need to initiate the investigation, I think for the UA issues, unintended acceleration issues, that we are committed to take actions in investigating those issues one by one. In other words, once we get the complaints of reports of that UA issue going forward, the goal is to start investigation within 24 hours of the information that we receive. And we are creating many, many SWAT teams to really go into that area.
Okay. I've been called for a vote, but I'd like to get on the record, if I could, your response, Mr. Toyota. What have you learned from this personally, and what lessons has the company taken from the events leading to today's hearings, and how will you change Toyota in the future to protect people and to provide an excellent product? And I'm running to vote. If you can answer.
You want him to answer?
I want him to answer into the answer.
You may answer Mr. Inaba or Mr. Toyota. What have you learned, etc.？
今までこういう例えばリコールに関してでございますが、今まではあまりに技術的見地、そしてかつ法令遵守をしているかどうか、その2点に非常に集中してやってまいります。今回いろいろ学ばせていただいたことの一番大事なことは、セーフティーカスタマーファーストで、セーフティーに対しては、前も今も非常に重要視してきたことには変わりございませんが、そこにお客様視点、というものを入れることということがまず第1点、そしてもう1点は、よりタイムリーに、地域の情報を得て、それをできるだけ、グローバル本社で、その時間差がないような形に、今後努力をしていきたいというふうに、思っております。
With respect to the recall, thus far we have been too much focused on two perspectives. One is technical perspective, and the other is compliance with laws and regulations. The most important lesson that I learned from this experience relates to the following. With respect to customer first philosophy, we have been placing the highest priority on the safety thus far, and we will continue doing so. But on top of that, from the perspective of customer first, we'll place greater emphasis upon customers' viewpoint and perspectives. So that's the first lesson that I would like to mention here. And in addition to that, we'll make sure that we get information from various regions of the world in a more timely manner, so that the time lag be minimized between different parts of the world and the global head office in Japan. We'll make efforts in that direction.
Thank you. If I may say so, the reason that you have seen such emphasis of what you call the technical matters and the law is precisely that customers did, in fact, apparently over and over again complain about these issues, but had no way to know the cause and expected Toyota to, in fact, look at the technical details. The technical details are beyond a family that reports unintended acceleration. And the family expects that having reported that, there will be an immediate remedy. The matter of law goes to transparency itself. The law requires automobile operators in this country to, manufacturers in this country to operate in a certain way. And therefore, the first thing we do is the law can see if they are operating according to law. And law here meant, of course, the regulatory agency. I don't know if you want to respond, but I do want to make it clear. And I was pleased to hear that apparently the route from customer complaint to those who can do something about it is one of the reforms you have suggested in your testimony already. That apparently these went astray because they didn't get quite straight up to the fix-it person. And as I understand it, one of the most important reforms is not that the customer complaints you'll listen to, I suppose you heard them, but the right people in the structure did not hear these complaints. Is that so? At the right level, the level to bring an immediate remedy, those people didn't hear it soon enough, and so the customers weren't heard soon enough. Is that correct?
全く聞いていなかったわけではないというふうに思っております。要は、その聞いてきた苦情をいかに我々の形で再現できるか、そしてその出た苦情を現地現物で何があったのかということをいかに調べられるか、そしてその問題が今後他に継続性かつ他に波及する可能性がどのくらいあるのか、この3ステップを今までより以上に早い形でやりたいということでご理解賜りたいと思います。ただこの再現に関しましては本当にその我が社一生懸命やっております。一生懸命やっていても再現が出ない場合もあるということはご理解賜りたいんですが、その一生懸命やってるところをより今後トレスパランシーを上げながら、当局の協力も仰ぎながら、そして業界全体の車全体の向上につながるような活動につなげるようトヨタとしては今後、力になっていきたいというふうに思っております。
It's not that customers were not heard, in my view. Whenever complaints were reported, we try very hard to reproduce and duplicate those complaints to identify what it was that was actually taking place, which led to the complaints coming from the customers. We investigated them very hard, and at the same time, whether the similar phenomenon is likely to continue into the future, how much possibility there is for the same phenomenon to spread to other areas or other cars is another aspect that is investigated. So I will say that I will accelerate that process of following these 3 steps further into the future. But with respect to the reproducibility or duplication of those phenomena, we have been working very hard within Toyota to do exactly that. But even with the best efforts made, there are cases that cannot be or that has not been reproduced. So going forward, we'll enhance the transparency of the process of us working very hard to reproduce and trying to identify those causes, sometimes seeking cooperation from the authorities concerned. And we intend to lead our efforts in this area in a manner that our efforts itself will lead to the improvement of the vehicles of the entire industry.
I'm going to go on with my questions. I just want to make sure you're not blaming the victims. The customers reported.
We understand.
The customers reported. Let's not say, we want to hear our customers. The fault does not lie with the customers. You can bet your bottom dollar that the first time there was unintended acceleration, that's about everybody's horror. You can bet your bottom dollar that that customer reported that. Your answer, which goes to we'll see if this is duplicated, is in some ways very troublesome, because that is such a serious problem that once it is reported one time, it seems to me you have got a huge problem on your hands, and you seem to be saying, well, if we hear it enough, then we'll know we ought to do something about it. That's very troublesome.
Well, what we said in our testimony and many other times, customer first, is a thing that we have been doing, but we would have to make more focus on the customer concerns and complaints. And for that matter, I think we also work closer with NHTSA, NHTSA, so that when they receive the customer complaints, we'd like to know more about it, and then also some of the information will be sort of open to us, including VIN number, so that we can trace back each one of the customers. As I said, this SWAT team could do that. So we are trying very hard to really put the word customer first.
First, let me say to you, I'm going to ask you a question that I think every American who has a Toyota would want me to ask. And I can ask this because it's personal as well as congressional. I drive a Camry hybrid. I switched to Toyota very reluctantly because I wanted to buy an American car. And the Americans were not making hybrids almost at all, or were so few that I went straight away to Toyota. Why? I didn't ask how much it cost. I was relying on this extraordinary reputation for quality and safety that had been built over generations. So I ask you, Mr. Toyota, is there any chance that the Camry hybrid will be recalled? For any reason.
First of all, let me step in. First of all, Chairwoman, you are driving American car. It is produced American.
It's got Mr. Toyota's name on it.
That's right.
You don't want to claim it anymore? You are disclaiming the car.
No, no, I think it is an American.
It was the Americans' fault.
No, 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 no. Please, healthier. And first of all, and also, now Camry hybrid is not on the recall list.
No. Yeah. And I just want to find out if you expect it ever to be on the recall list for any reason.
I think you'll be very safe and, you know, driving the car. So that's all I wanted to just step in before Mr. Toyota.
You stand behind the Camry hybrid, Mr. Toyota.
現在のところ大丈夫でございます。ただこれから毎日使っていただくお客様が、より長く使っていただきますと、その時に、どういう、お言葉が出てくるか分かりません。ですから、今後も現在は全く大丈夫でございます。ですけど今後も使っていただいておられるお客様の声は真摯に受け止める体制を全世界今作っておりますので、謙虚に聞いていく姿勢で、いつまでも安心してお使いいただけるよう私どもとしても努力していきたいというふうに思っております。
Right now, it is completely safe, and every day, as customers continue to use those vehicles, they may come up with new findings. But as I said, it's 100% safe at the moment. And for the customers to be able to feel safe in the car, and so that ourselves be able to sincerely receive any voices of the customers anywhere in the world, we are now putting in place the structure worldwide to capture customers' voices wherever in the world. And we will listen to those customers' voices very humbly and modestly so that they will continue to be safe in our vehicles.
Thank you.
Chairwoman, can I have one more sentence?
Mr. Inaba?
Because it was, I'm afraid, misunderstood. The Camry hybrid is produced here, and vast majority of the parts are coming from United States. So that's what I meant as American car.
I just don't know what difference that makes, and you need to explain that to me. Were the cars that have been recalled produced elsewhere, and that's the problem? Mine is safer because American workers did it and produced it? I don't understand the distinction. The cars that had the problem were shipped from Japan or something?
The reason what I said, why, Camry Hybrid is an American car, because you did bought an American car. That's what I meant, which is produced here, supplied here, and then, so that's all I want.
Many Toyotas are produced here and supplied here, aren't they? We're pleased to have you produced and supplied here. But the worldwide reputation begins in Japan and stands behind wherever they're produced. Sometimes they're produced in Europe.
That's very true.
Mr. Toyota, I was impressed with your opening remarks. In fact, I'm impressed with your being here, and I'm impressed with some of what you have said you intend to do, because we are moving forward. I am trying in my own questions to get some sense of where we need to have confidence in Toyota and where there's still some questions. But in your testimony, you say, and I'm quoting, I would like to point out here, this is page 1 of your testimony, that Toyota's priority has traditionally been the following: first, safety; second, quality; and third, volume. Now, I'm going to ask you a question about what seems to be a fourth priority. That is, for me, the most troubling aspect of this controversy. And that fourth quality is secrecy. To get to the heart of my concern about secrecy and the culture of secrecy, I would go to the data recorder, otherwise known as black box. Now, people in the United States are very familiar with airline black boxes because they know that in that black box is critical information. And if you get to it fast, you can find the cause. You can not only respond to those who have been hurt, you can put to rest some of the concerns as people begin to speculate what indeed caused this, and they come up with sometimes wild conclusions. But that black box is critical. Now, other manufacturers, understanding just how important it is to get to the cause of the accident for all concerned, make the black box data available to download. I have had a hard time understanding, therefore, given the fact that your competitors make this data downloadable easily, I have had difficulty understanding Toyota invoking proprietary technology that allows only you, Toyota, on the spot to download. Why should we respect your proprietary technology any more than we respect the proprietary technology of other automakers, particularly given the safety aspects of this matter and the fact that an accident has already occurred? Why do you not want to clear the air as quickly as possible? On what basis do you invoke some proprietary technology interest when your competitors do not in the downloading area?
Let me respond to that question first. That yes, we know that Detroit 3 manufacturers have this information, and then the reader is commercially available. Toyota is also making this.
Wait a minute. What's commercially available and when?
Detroit 3, General Motors, Ford, Chrysler have this commercially available reader that what you
Why don't you have such a reader?
We are in a process of making it available, commercially available by probably middle of next year, which is ahead of the law requirement, A. B, that this year by April, in 2 months' time, in less than 2 months' time, we are going to make 100 units of readers available at any region, any area. The point is that, you know, with the authority also in the past request, we made it always open. Now, this is the information, the EDR information is the owner's information that with their consent, we can make that information.
Yeah, it was available if you were on the spot. I mean, we don't understand.
No, we did not hide it at the request of authorities, like police request or NHTSA request or some other government authorities request. We had made it open.
Once you came as if there was something that was so secret that even you had to be there in order for law enforcement and regulators to read it. I just don't understand the difference. Indeed, let me make sure I understand what your testimony is. Are you saying that the company is redesigning the black box so that it can be readable by law enforcement, by safety investigators, and consumers?
And owners of that.
Consumers, yes.
It should not be made available to anybody else unless there is a consent, to my knowledge, of the owners of the vehicle.
You would not have to be, Toyota would not have to be present in order for the black box to be read. Is that true? Just like other manufacturers, you don't have to come to unlock the black box personally.
I don't know that technical detail to answer.
Well, that's the whole point, sir. 1 second. Mr. Chavez from Utah, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Toyota, Mr. Neba, thank you. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated. Mr. Toyota, do you believe you're being treated the same as other manufacturers in the United States of America?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you have any reason to believe that other automakers are treated any differently by NHTSA?
No, I don't think so.
If you could hand the document, please, to them. There's a document dated July 6th of 2009. If you could take a look at this, please. This is an internal Toyota document dated July 6, 2009. Mr. Inaba, it has your name on it. My apologies if I pronounced it wrong. On page 7, which should be the second page, it says, under the first bullet point, changing political environment, massive government support for Detroit automakers. Is that concerning? Or why was that brought up?
Better.
Yes, please.
This is one of the, I explained already once part of it. This is one of my orientation data, because I was a few days in to this position, and this is prepared by Washington office to give me sort of first look of it. I do not honestly recall all these notions. Only thing I said also, recall is a quiet car regulation, which struck me with a very strange feeling. But that was the only thing. But looking at all these papers, this certainly does not represent the Toyota's overall guiding principle or belief.
On the second page, it's under key safety issues. On the first point, it says U.S. DOT, NHTSA, under Obama administration, not industry friendly. Is that a compliment or is that a criticism?
I can't comment on that.
What does it mean to you? Let me go to the last point, Mr. Perhaps both of you could take this. Quote, the new team has less understanding of engineering issues and are primarily focused on legal issues. Can you explain what Toyota's meant by that?
Yeah, the owner, as he said.
I still don't understand what the big difference between the two. Engineer, legal, both are involved anyhow.
Both what?
Both sides have been, will be involved in a discussion anyhow.
This is an internal Toyota document. Mr. Toyota, how would you read this?
これちょっと理解できません。
I can't understand it.
My understanding is that both Toyota and NHTSA knew about this problem back as early as 2007, and yet it took so long to get it taken care of. Is there a regulatory component here that was slowing us down?
私の理解だと日産もトヨタも2007年にこの問題を知っていたのに対応時間がかかった規制面でこれだけ時間がかかって何か規制上の理由がありますかと。
私この書類が新任社長のプレゼンテーション資料の一部だということは今日理解しましたけれども、どういうバックグラウンドでどういう形で書かれたかは全く把握しておりませんので、ちょっとそのご質問にお答えできないこと大変申し訳ないと思っております。
Today, I came to understand that this particular document was prepared as a part of the presentation material addressed to the new president. However, I do not know the background of this writing, nor do I know how this document was prepared. And therefore, I apologize, but I simply do not know the answer to your question.
Do you believe it's true? Do you stand by it, or do you want to distance yourself from it?
ここに書かれた内容を支持なさいますか？
ちょっともう少し理解しないと英語が理解できておりません。
Well, I need to understand this further. That is to say, I cannot understand the English written here.
Now, 8 months into this position, I'm beginning to learn myself and form my own opinion. So that is not consistent, or I'm learning does not represent my feeling today. And of course, I will learn more. I would like to build a very good relationship with NHTSA, and so that we can work together very good.
Do you explain to me the negotiation that happens between an auto manufacturer and NHTSA? Often the word negotiation is used. How does that work? What is negotiated in your?
I have met NHTSA officials twice, so I am not able to explain what the negotiation means. So it is still a little bit too premature for me to say anything. But I don't know, certainly negotiation doesn't sound like a good word. There's a discussion, yes, but also exchange of information, yes. And we oftentimes get a good guidance from NHTSA. Government official will listen to it, respect them. They ask us information, we provide them. So this is sort of like the nature of the relationship, as I understand. Whether it falls into negotiate or not, I don't know.
Do you believe, Mr. Toyota, that American unions have an undue influence in this process?
アメリカの組合がこのプロセスで不当な影響力を行使しているというふうに考えられますか？
この内容を理解しておりませんので、ちょっとそのご質問にどうお答えしていいのかちょっと分かりかねます。大変申し訳ありません。
Since I haven't understood the content of this, I do not know how I should answer that question. I apologize for that.
Toyota hired some former NHTSA employees. Why would it be appealing to hire former NHTSA employees?
Well, first of all, those two gentlemen who came from NHTSA I know personally. So, of course, having
How did you know them? How did you know them?
I just started meeting him more often because I am a president of that company and meet them when
Wait, did you know them before they were hired?
I did not.
No.
So I'm beginning to know their personality, how their professional standard. So I have very high respect for both, gentlemen's, professionalism and also ethical standard. So it doesn't matter whether they're coming from NHTSA or not. To me, it does not.
And do you believe that the relationship between NHTSA and Toyota or other manufacturers is too close, too cozy?
I don't believe so.
The gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Kucinich of Ohio, 5 minutes.
I thank the gentlelady. We have heard Mr. Toyota say that Toyota grew too fast. It's interesting that's being told us as we're investigating cars that are accelerating out of control. It's ironic, but I would submit perhaps a misleading parallel, because the problem is not that you were moving too fast, but that you were moving too slow. Too slow to recognize the material defects that put people's lives at risk, and too slow to have some internal questioning about the effectiveness of your own value innovation program, which in the mid-decade began slashing production costs so that you could reach a 10% operating profit, and then when China came on into full competition and began dropping their price for parts, you began to cut your costs even more. And this committee hasn't really looked at the economic backdrop of the change, what appears to be a change in Toyota's culture, but which may be, in fact, a kind of a cutthroat corporate competitive environment which caused Toyota to drive its costs down. And with, as we know everywhere, when costs are driven down, safety is also put at risk. There are 180 different parts that you look at where you cut the cost by at least 30%, according to all industry reports. Now, Mr. Toyota.
Not like the South.
To your knowledge, were there ever any discussions at Toyota that certain design or engineering flaws would create system failures that would result in unintended acceleration?
トヨタの社内で、ある設計上あるいは技術上の、欠陥があると、意図せざるアクセラレーションが起こるような形でシステムが故障するということに関する議論をなさったことはおありですか？議論したということを知っていますか？
自分の就任前、いわゆる成長スピードが速かったというのをご指摘いただいたとおりですが、成長が速すぎて人材育成のスピードを上回ったというふうにご理解いただきたいと思います。そしてある面、ファイナンスドリブンマニファクチャリングカンパニーというようなですね、ふうになっているというご指摘いただきました。自分もある面、そういうところも多少あったかというふうに思っておりますが、私、就任以来、やはりもっといい車を作ろうよということをまずやっていることをまずはご理解いただきたいというふうに思います。
You pointed out that before I became president, the speed of growth may have been too fast. And I was referring to the fact that the growth may have outpaced our ability to develop and train human resources. And you also pointed out that the company may have become a finance-driven manufacturing company. And to a certain extent,
I understand your answer. It's not responsive to the question I'm asking. Now, I want to be polite, but I also hope that you answer the question that I asked, which is, were there ever any discussions at Toyota that certain design or engineering flaws would create system failures that would result in unintended acceleration? That was my question, and I would appreciate the courtesy of a direct response.
直接答えていただくというのは例年となったことだと思いますけれども、直接その質問に答えていただきますか。そういったディスカッションがあったことをご存知ですか。
こういうリコール問題が幾多にも重なるリコール問題が出たときに、トヨタ社内で、その意図せぬ、いわゆるその加速というのはどういう段階であるかというのは真剣に議論をいたしました。
Whenever those issues of recall came about, within Toyota, we had very serious discussion as to at which stage so-called unintended acceleration takes place.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question, Mr. Toyota. Have you ever been advised by your attorneys or business associates not to discuss any defects in the electronic throttle control system because such an admission would create such liability which would be financially devastating to Toyota?
そういうことは全くございません。
That has never happened.
Mr. Inaba?
Never happened.
You have no discussion with your attorneys about matters of material defects in your products?
Nothing costs Toyota more than the loss of the customer trust into our vehicles. For that perspective, we are as eager as anybody else know that if there is any problem on our ETC system.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Souder.
Thank you very much. First, I want to make a couple of comments at the very beginning. First, I want to thank Mr. Inaha for visiting Warsaw, Indiana, to the new Toyota dealership there. It was a big thing for the small town. Dave Illing is running that, and that's in my district, and people were very excited to have you in. Secondly, I have some concerns about the way the hearings have been conducted. To some degree, it seems like we're having a hanging before the trial. Now, I'm not saying that you're not guilty. I'm just saying it seems by hauling you in here and the way we've handled this, and by going through a lot of internal memos, there's a lot yet to be decided. And I'm trying to get to the truth. I represent an auto area. We make parts through my whole district. Fort Wayne, Indiana is the proud home of the Silverado and Sierra, who is in competition with you every day. So my goal is to sell GM products and Ford and Chrysler, but also I have suppliers to you. One in this district is CTS. It's right at the edge of my district. That these two pedals have distinctly different problems. This longer one was having a slightly slow release, which means that when you take your foot off, it comes up just a fraction of seconds too slow. And it also was, because it was longer, was sticking in floor mats. But nobody was killed from that. That was a standard recall problem where you say, okay, we're going to fix the part. This one, however, for whatever, whether it's electronic or whatever, the one from, Denso, had acceleration. In other words, it wasn't that when you let go it went up, it was actually causing the car to go faster. And that's all the death cases came from the Denso model, not the CTS. Because when you go through the models, and this is important for several things, like Mr. Kanjorski, one of our concerns as American congressmen is that you treat America like the rest of the world. And we're very concerned about memos that suggest you are addressing the problem in Europe and Japan before in the United States. The other thing is in part suppliers, what's amazing in this story is that the American part supplier was actually delivering the safer model, and that your subsidiary, and I don't know whether you're aware, at a little after 3 o'clock, the FBI raided 3 Toyota suppliers, and one is this one that made the pedal that's causing it. And there's clearly going to be an investigation as to that. I also want to thank you for, if you're going to be an American company, for working with our parts suppliers. I understand that you need multiple suppliers, that having and it's good to have the competition. That's how we get better things. I understand even why, as a corporation, you need to have legal protection, although you need to be honest about what's happening here, and partly when we have hearings like this, more people file lawsuits, and you have to protect yourself and your stockholders, and I understand that. But in looking for safety, I encourage you to continue to look at the American suppliers, because in this case, I don't know whether it was because you were trying to do cost controls internally on your historic system, but what I see happening, and it's interesting when you match up these two models, what happened is that it isn't true that the American company was supplying your American-made vehicles, that you've been transitioning over, and where the problems were occurring were in the Denso model, and that you moved 50% over to Camry starting in 2007, but the problems were pre-2007. You've now been moving Lexus over, and I'm praising you, I'm not criticizing you for moving over, but it's more or less an acknowledgement that while you had problems in this one, they weren't as great as this one. And I would encourage you, like others have, to look at whether there was some interaction in the type of pedal, whether it was the cruise control that did it, or the electronic, or whether there's something inside here, because you're addressing the snapback. Because that's just a fraction, isn't unless you catch your mat, which is partly, we have people sticking carpet under, you know, you can have any kind of pencil get under that affect that. But that's still different than this sudden acceleration. And I encourage you to continue. You have multiple manufacturing plants in the state of Indiana, which aren't in my area. Like I say, we're more of the big three. I also want to encourage you, in addition to not treating us differently compared to Japan and Europe in safety questions, and continuing to use American suppliers and doing your standards. I mean, the companies in my district are saying when you come in, you're very aggressive on making sure they have good standards. But to continue to do that, and I'll also encourage you, I'm very discouraged that a number of years ago you said your goal was to be the #1 auto supplier to Iran. Now, we have rules in the United States about supplying Iran, and I hope Toyota also reverses that position, because as Americans, we're very concerned about that. I'd welcome any comments.
Thank you for all the suggestions and advices. I must only say that we do not treat American customers any differently from Europe or Japan. And just a matter of timing, that there may be a difference in reacting to the problem or resolving the problem, but there's no way that we can differentiate any American drivers from the rest.
All right, gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Illinois, Congressman Quigley.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Congressman Quigley, Illinois.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My colleague from Ohio stressed that he raised a point to get a more specific answer, and I will briefly try to do the same thing as it relates to black boxes. Clearly, other manufacturers make this black box data available to download. At this point, Toyota has proprietary technology that allows only Toyota to download this data. Now, beyond adding more, the specific question is, will your company redesign the black box so that it can be readable by law enforcement, safety investigators, and consumers?
It is true that we have one leader in the United States which can read EDR. And we have made a decision that we will have 100 units of them made available by the end of April.
How will they be made available to whom?
This is made by our supplier, so it's a Toyota's technology. But let me carry on. By middle, I guess, was by middle of 2011, prior to the law requirement, we will make this reader commercially available in this market. So there are steps that we had to take, maybe because of technical reason, but we are making it because for us also, excuse me, it is very important to know the reasons of any accident, and getting into more technical detail of that. And of course, we have been always open our information to the authorities' requests.
But the other manufacturers don't make these entities hurdle to get this. It's not proprietary. I mean, so they can do it themselves. You're still making it difficult, even if you add more readers. As you say, information is so important, and as we've talked about before, one of our big concerns here is we don't know exactly what's happening. Mr. Lentz yesterday said he's not certain that a recall would fully solve the safety problem. So, again, we're flying blind, and with respect, I don't see that what you're talking about is a dramatic leap forward to improve how much information we're getting with these incidents as they take place.
And as other manufacturers you are referring to is, in my understanding, to the best of my knowledge, it's only General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. And no other makes are not ready yet, I don't think. So I think we are still among early wave of that information available.
With respect, I think that it would behoove you and everyone who drives your vehicles, including my family, if you rethought that and advanced the efforts to make this information available far more quickly than it allows, and even in the redress attempts that you're talking about now.
Yes, we are trying to, sir.
Getting to the main point that was made by Mr. Lentz, that he wasn't certain that a recall would solve these problems. It came down to the issue of electronics, and still a question there. What is your level of certainty as to whether electronics is a main cause of this problem?
Well, let me try my way.
Okay.
My level of confidence is 100%. I think I have a full trust in Toyota's engineers. Over 50 years, I think they have done a great job to bring Toyota name up to here. And I have no doubt that they are still doing it. So, of course, all the exhaustive testing done at Toyota, it is exhaustive in their mind. That's why we went outside to Exponent. And if that is not enough, we are willing to stand. We are just in the process, just very close to announce what Mr. Toyoda referred as outside advisory board. This is going to be two very prominent, I can't name it now, as of now, maybe in a couple of days, two prominent safety experts leading the panel to investigate this ETCS of Toyota, whether it is whether it is any problem or it is robust. And they can choose any outside laboratory to test it. So we are now hoping that we can announce it fully so that you would understand. But we are willing to take that sort of test through this advisory, and they can be also advisory board to our overall quality improvement. So this is what I wanted to say.
Gentlemen, time has expired. Congressman Fortenberry from Nebraska.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for coming today. Frankly, it is refreshing to see corporate executives show remorse in what is a very serious issue, and to try to unpack the way to move forward on resolving safety concerns with your product. With that said, I'd like to ask you one question and then perhaps propose a creative opportunity for you to consider. Is your corporate culture in America different than your corporate culture in Japan, so that the corporate culture in America is impeded from responding more quickly to safety concerns?
If I understand your question correctly, is corporate America culture different from Japan at Toyota? Is that the question?
It would be helpful to have an understanding if your corporate culture in America is fully free and independent to be able to respond quickly to the safety problems that are presented to them here.
Well, of course there is a difference because our corporate culture in America is very much composed of so many Americans, vast majority is Americans, and therefore there might be a difference. But at the same time, it is amazing that we see a lot of commonality. I personally see a lot of commonality because I have worked in this country 9 years. So I have seen many of the Toyota associates here, including our dealers, and the corporate culture is very, very similar, to my surprise, to that of Toyota value in Japan. But there is also a difference, in communication, I have to admit. And there's sometimes, a lack of communication because of the language differences, because of the cultural differences too. So here I am, being a head of this North American operation. I am called half American, half Japanese. So I think I can bridge that gap very easily so that our corporate culture of customer first and then honest and transparency should be kept intact.
So there's nothing in the American Toyota corporate system that is not free or is impeded by the dominant corporate culture in Japan to quickly address safety issues.
It would be fair to say that there's none, but there's always a difference.
I understand.
But I think my job is to sort of even it.
One of the most significant issues here, of course, is the unintended acceleration. The earlier comments were suggesting that, and your executive yesterday suggested that what you are doing may not totally fix the problem. Now, in that regard, unintended acceleration has affected other car manufacturers. So I would suggest to you that you have a potential opportunity here as the dominant player in worldwide automobile manufacturing, or certainly one of them, to perhaps lead on a new way of thinking about this safety problem, working perhaps in a consortium with other manufacturers, your very competitors, working with the United States government. We had the Secretary of Transportation here, to think more creatively and perhaps do the research and collaboration that shows that it is this mechanical problem that we were demonstrating earlier, or is there some electrical issue that has not been discovered yet that more collective minds working together could actually discover and broaden the impact of the safety changes for the entire car industry.
コングレスマンおっしゃっておられるように、世界で、トヨタいろいろビジネスをさせていただいておりますが、世界で、ビジネスをする上での社風というか大事にするもの、というものは世界のどこであっても、共通だというふうにご認識いただきたいと思います。
As Congressman has just pointed out, throughout the world, Toyota has been deploying business and pursuing business in the world. I believe the corporate culture or things that we treasure very much are commonly shared anywhere in the world.
ただそこの地域によってやはり文化とか風習の違いというのはあると思います。で、それぞれの国でそれぞれの国の方が働き、そしてそれぞれの国の方のお客様に商品をお届けするということを介してやる場合、やはり今後よりアメリカの文化、風習、それを4月からより地域主導で進めていこうというふうに思っておりました。
However, different regions do have its own culture, its own customs, and local people of a specific country work for a company, and we deliver our products to customers in the local markets. And in that sense, I have been thinking since April that we will give greater initiative to different regions of the world. For example, by emphasizing more the culture of the United States or the customs here.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Illinois, Congressman Davis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I thank you, gentlemen, for appearing before the committee. Mr. Toyota, for years there have been complaints pouring into your company about unintended acceleration problems in your vehicles. Your own field technicians in Europe were alerting you that something in the accelerator pedal was causing cars to speed up uncontrollably more than a year ago. When did Toyota first learn it had a problem with sudden unintended acceleration? And why did it take you almost a year to bring this to the attention of regulators and even more time to tell the public about the problem? Is there some policy in your company that prevents you from alerting regulators as quickly as possible about a problem or the public so that we all become aware?
会社の中のポリシーとしてそういった問題。
会社のですね、伝統と誇りにかけまして、トヨタは、何か問題が起こった場合には、徹底的に事実を追求し、いい加減なごまかしはしない、またその際の基本姿勢は、あくまで顧客の安全と便宜を確保することを考える、その上で時代の要請に応じた環境保全、自然との共生を図る製品作りをしているということには、ぜひともご理解賜りたいというふうに思います。で、いつ知ったかということでございますが、なかなかですね、いつということは把握しておりませんので、大変申し訳ないですが、そういう企業姿勢であるということをぜひともご理解賜りたいと思います。
In the name of our company's tradition and pride, I can clearly say that whenever a problem arises, Toyota pursues the facts thoroughly and rigorously and looks into those matters in great detail. And in doing so, our fundamental approach and stance is to give the highest priority to customers' safety and convenience. And in addition to that, once that is accomplished, we provide and create products that also satisfies the mandate of the times, for example, in conserving environment or existing in harmony with the nature. Now, with respect to your specific question of when we learned about this problem, I do not know when we learned about this problem, but I do hope that you would understand the basic stance and attitude of the company which I described.
Reports were actually surfacing seemingly several years ago, and yet it appears that there was no significant effort to deal with it until the accident in California. Do you feel that your company acted quickly enough to begin to address the issue in a way that regulators and the public would know that you were doing so?
十分に迅速に対応したとお考えですかと。
結果的に現在のお考えでは迅速に対応できなかったということになっておられるかもしれませんが、今後しっかりとですね、その体制を今構築しております。ですから今後皆様の期待を裏切らないように、より現地の情報をタイムリーに得、そしてそれを確実に反映していくような体制づくりを私がリーダーシップを取って進めてまいりたいというふうに思います。
As it turned out, in this particular case, the response, according to your impression, was not quick enough. However, going forward, we will establish the framework very firmly and diligently so that we will not betray your expectations in that regard. And I'll personally take leadership in putting in place the structure that will enable us to capture information from the local areas concerned in a more timely manner.
Media reports suggest that your company knew at least a year about the stick and pells before you shared that information or communicated that information to the regulators. Do you think that that was perhaps a bit lengthy a time to tell regulators if the company knew?
Now, I know this sticky pedal situation is in question, and yes, we knew that probably a year ago in Europe. And as I have been saying, that this had not been shared well enough on this side. So we did not hide it, but it was not properly shared. So we need to do a much better job in sharing whatever is happening in Europe should be known in the United States so that we are all alert, see if there's any danger to American consumers and drivers. The other issue is that the first information we get to know was in Europe was all right-hand drive cars and also different models, much smaller cars than those models sold here. Though that's why initial judgment, which was wrong, well, turned out to be wrong, but it was limited to a right-hand drive and it's much smaller cars. So there's a lack of, maybe you may call it sensitivity, but there's no deliberate sort of delay in the process.
Well, let me just say I appreciate your answers, and I thank you for indicating that you expect to do a better job. Yes. I'm always reminded of my mother, who told us when I was a kid growing up that what you do speaks so loudly until it's hard for me to hear what you say. So I hope that your actions will be certainly forthcoming, and I thank you very much for your answers.
Thanks, sir.
Thank the gentleman from Illinois. Now you call on the gentleman from California, Congressman Bill Bray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Inaba, you just made a comment that kind of was startling for me. And I apologize that you have to testify in a second language and in a setting that may not be as comfortable for you as you prefer. But you stated that you had 100%, you were 100% sure that the difficulties with the pedals, with the acceleration, was not electronic, that it was not going to be involved with the data systems, that it was a physical problem. You stand by that statement?
Sir, may I clarify what I meant? Because the question I thought was that are you personally, what is my confidence level about ETCS, electronic throttle control system? So my feeling is that since I have a trust in our engineers, even though it has not been extensively tested by the outsiders, which I added, but my confidence, personal confidence level is 100%. But I'm only referring to ETCS system, okay, sir.
Because it does concern me when anyone can say anything to 100%. You know, it's one thing to stand behind your vehicles. It's one thing to ask the American people to stand in front of them, especially with their children. And 100% is a very strong statement. And it's fine to say it here in these hearings, but out in the real world, we've had some terrible tragedies. I just want to make sure, as being a representative in San Diego, where the tragedy that finally opened up this book caused not only Toyota, but the American community to be willing to ask the tough questions that I don't think have been made. Mr. Toyota, your family has spent decades creating a reputation that is second to none, probably only compatible with the inventor of the automobile themselves. The big question is, do you think there's a possibility that that reputation, being so good, might have made those of us who were regulators not ask the tough questions that we might have asked from General Motors or some other automaker? or that same reputation and feeling of success and confidence might have left Toyota not to ask the tough questions of yourself. In other words, your success created the problem or created the atmosphere and the environment that allowed this problem to go on from 07 to just recently.
難しい質問をしなかったとか、自分自身が最
後私自身今まで評判が高いから、決して聞いてなかったというようなことはないと思いますが、私7月に社長になってからはより顧客の言うことを聞こう、販売店さんの言うことを聞こう、良き聞き手になるんだというようなことは、社内の至るところで言ってきております。まだそういう力が及んでないこと、私の力不足だというふうに思いますが、トヨタがここまで70年間、やはりここまでお客様、そしていろんなパートナーに支持されてまいりましたのも、やはり、謙虚に、皆様の意見を真摯な態度で聞いてきたということだと思いますので、それはこれからも自信を持って続けていきたいというふうに思っております。
I personally do not believe that we didn't ask tough questions because we had very high reputations. Since I became president in July, I have been saying internally within the company that we need to heed customers, dealers, and we need to become a good listener. But because of the inadequacy on my part, probably that ability itself may not have spread widely within the company. But for the past 70 years, we have been supported by customers and by our partners because Toyota has been a company that listens to those opinions of outsiders very modestly and most sincerely. And you have my commitment that we will continue doing so going forward.
Look, the damage done to the Toyota name will impact Toyota more than anything this Congress can do. The consumer and the market will demand a very high price from Toyota for these mistakes. The question is, though, how do we prevent it in the future for Toyota and everybody else? Do you agree that the federal government of the United States should require all manufacturers, including Toyota, to report all incidents of malfunctions, no matter where in the world those occur, not just here in the United States?
アメリカだけでなくて世界のどこにしろ不具合が起こったらそれをすべて規制当局に報告をすることをすべてのメーカーに要求すべきだとお考えですかと。
私自身現在の技術力のある面限界、は現実的にはあるというふうに思っています。しかしながら、絶えずその限界をもっと良くしていくんだ、もっといわゆる欠陥というか不具合を解決していくんだというチャレンジ精神はトヨタは失ってないというふうに思っております。そういう中で、これが今後その不具合なりそういうものを限りなくゼロに近づけていくためには、一つずつ現実問題起こった問題をよく精査しながら、そしてそれは情報開示をしていく、というようなことで、よりその業界全体として、やっていくよう協力をしていきたいというふうに思っております。
I personally believe that realistically there are limitations to the current engineering capability. However, Toyota has a challenging spirit to make things better or to correct inadequacies or troubles wherever that may happen. And going forward, we will continue to strive to minimize those troubles as close as possible to zero. By examining each individual reported cases, putting them under scrutiny, and making public any findings in that process. And we would like to work together in this industry.
Mr. Chairman, in all fairness, I'd just like a yes or no. Should the federal government of the United States require Toyota and every other manufacturer to report total malfunctions, not just those within the jurisdiction of the United States. Yes or no? Should we require all information or shouldn't we? What is the position of Mr. Toyota?
今、全面的に協力はしていきたいというふうに思っております。
We would like to extend full cooperation.
So I will take that as a yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. We should. Hi. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. And now you'll 5 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Congressman Cuellar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Konnichiwa. Good day. I represent the San Antonio area down to the valley where we have a Toyota plant. Currently, right now, there's about 2,600 hardworking Americans in the San Antonio area plant where their jobs and family livelihood. In fact, I see Jay here, which I visited, a couple other folks here. So we're asking you to put Toyota back on track so Americans' jobs are not put in jeopardy, and of course, American drivers that are at risk that we have to address. It is my hope that you move swiftly and safely to repair the safety problems, rebuild the reputation that Mr. Ryan was talking about, and restore the Toyota legacy which employs Americans here at home. American drivers and American workers are watching and waiting. Toyota has a glowing legacy in this country for decades. For the sake of safety and for the sake of jobs, we need to get that back. You all need to get that back. In this country, we have American-made Toyotas, made by American workers, American drivers behind the wheel. The responsibility Toyota has to Americans runs wide and runs deep. And this is about safety, and this is about jobs. As I mentioned, in my area, 2,600 local jobs doesn't include the on-site suppliers, which is about 5,500 when you put everybody. It doesn't include the Toyota dealers. So millions of Americans also drive your vehicles. As I mentioned, I met with Jay, I met with a couple other folks, one of your Toyota forklift operator in San Antonio, and she says that even in this time of recession, Toyota has not let anybody off, has spared the employees, and they're still working. We appreciate that. But without a doubt, your ability to repair your reputation in this country will affect American workers and drivers who depend on Toyota. One of the things I want you to look at, because in fairness to all, when you look at the NHTSA numbers, you see, and I don't want to go, but you can see there, one company was at 32%, and members, I've handed this out, Mr. Chairman. Another one was at 17%, another one 15%, and then other, which means a combined ones, and then Toyota was at 11%. So in the past, you were doing well, very well. But again, we now have to look at what lessons have we learned. So my question, Mr. Toyota, what lessons has your company learned as a result of this recalls?
過去のデータはこういうことで大変ご評価いただいております。ただ現在非常に幾多のもリコールで非常にしかもブレーキとかアクセルとかいうもので不安をやっておりますが、現在原因を追求して対策を立てて、また今後情報が入るのをより密にやってまいりますので、今後必ずやまたこういうですねいいご評価をいただくように会社を元の会社にするよう精一杯努力する所存でございます。
This past data clearly places high evaluation to our track record. However, currently we are having series of recalls, and brake system or accelerator pedal system has caused concerns. But we are examining those matters, pursuing the true cause of those problems, identifying countermeasures, and going forward, we'll make sure that we get information more swiftly. And therefore, I will clearly say that going forward, we'll regain the good reputation as represented here in this track record. And that's exactly what we are doing at the moment.
Okay. Mr. Toyota, in your major editorial that you wrote recently, you said that Toyota, and I believe this is paraphrasing your words, has not lived up to the high standards it set for itself. How has your company not lived up to those high standards?
それはまずは、何よりもファーストプライオリティをセーフティーカスタマーファースト、ということを、トヨタの、いわゆるすべてのその業務において、趣旨徹底をしてまいります。それが、一番の信頼を回復する、近道だというふうに、思っております。それに加えまして、より、グローバルに仕事が展開していく中においても、それぞれの地域において、より透明性を上げていくことにも努力してまいりたいというふうに思っております。
First, above anything else, we will make double commitment with a new vigor to have safety and customer first permeate through every business and through every processes within Toyota. That, I believe, would be the best way for us to win back the trust that we enjoyed in the past. And on top of that, as we deploy business globally, we will make every effort to enhance the transparency of our business in various parts of the world.
Gentleman's time has expired. Now calling the gentleman from Tennessee, Congressman Duncan.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yesterday, a woman named Rhonda Smith testified at the Energy and Commerce Committee, and she's from East Tennessee, from just outside my district, which is based around Knoxville, that she was driving into Knoxville in her Lexus automobile, and that on October 12th of 2006, 3.5 years ago, and she experienced one of these sudden acceleration events, and that her automobile reached 100 miles an hour, and she said that she thought it was her time to die. And she said she called her husband and tried to put the car in reverse, but the computer apparently didn't recognize it. And she feels that Toyota's response to her complaints was a farce, because Toyota apparently told her there was nothing wrong with her car. Our investigators for the Energy and Commerce Committee and this committee have found that their complaints started coming in about these events in 2001, and NHTSA started an investigation apparently in 2004 aimed at Toyota. Now, 2004, you know, I don't know, that's 6 years ago if that investigation started early in the year, maybe 5.5 years ago if it started late in the year. But Mr. Toyota has said several times today that he just became president last summer, as if that excuses him. Mr. Naba, though, became head, as I understand it, 9 years ago of the U.S. Toyota operation. Now, one of my sons had a Toyota 4Runner several years ago, and my wife drove a small Lexus until about 2 years ago, and both of those were very good automobiles. And I think you've got a very good company and put out almost entirely good automobiles. I have a good impression of your company. But having said that, I don't believe I've heard a good answer today, and I've been in and out some, but I don't believe I've heard a good answer as to, or a complete answer as to why it took your company so long to respond to these complaints. Because apparently there were many complaints. I've seen it described as several hundred. I've seen it described as a few thousand. I don't know which it is, but there were many, many complaints. And I appreciate the fact that you've expressed remorse and that you say you're going to do better. But why was there not a response before now when you had all these complaints?
どうしてこんなに対応するのに時間がかかったと。
まず昨日のスミスさんの証言、私も伺いました。本当に運転中に ご心配をおかけしたこと、大変申し訳ないというふうに思っております。また、その後、販売店の対応が悪かったこと、これも大変申し訳なかったというふうに思います。なぜ反応が遅かったということでございますが、今後、その反応を本当に早くしていくように、現在、グローバル品質委員会の委員長となって、3月30日に向け、その体制を今、整えております。ですから、なんとか今までのことも深く反省し、そして今回、いろいろ学ばさせていただいたことを、一日も早く対策をかけていくことが私の仕事だというふうに思っております。
I listened to the testimony by Ms. Smith yesterday, and I feel very sorry and regret for the fact that while she was driving a car, such a huge anxiety was caused to her. And at the same time, I apologize for the response by the dealer, which was not really up to our standards. Now, as to why it took us so long, well, in order to accelerate our response going forward, I have established the Special Committee for Global Quality, and we are now setting up the framework so that the first meeting can take place on March the 30th. We have deeply reflected upon what has happened thus far. We learned a very important lesson from what has happened, and to take actions for improvement as quickly as possible, I think, is the job that I really have to attend to at the moment.
Well, let me just say this. I understand there are no Americans in the top leadership of Toyota in Japan. I think it might, you can say there's many Americans in the top leadership here, but it might be a good idea to put a couple of Americans in the top leadership in Japan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But gentleman's time has expired. Now call woman from California, Congresswoman Spear.
A question to both the President and the CEO here in the States. Have you turned over every document to NHTSA that relates to the sticky pedal and the sudden unintended acceleration?
ペダルの固着、それから SU に関してすべての文書はNHTSAに出されましたか。アクセルの問題とそれから SU に関してすべての文書は
I believe so. そうだと理解をしております。
I believe so. That's my
So there's not going to
understanding.
be any suppressed document or secret document that we're going to hear about a year from now.
1年後に今まで出てこなかった文書が突然現れるなんてことはないですか。
そういうことはないと思います。
All right.
That won't happen.
Now, the people of Japan are very hospitable. I know that for a fact. This is the #2 most important market for Toyota in the world. When a United States regulator flies to Japan to meet with your leadership, I find it hard to believe that, one, you didn't know about the meeting, and two, you never had a report about the meeting. Can you respond to that?
はい、ただそれは事実でございますので、大変その対応が悪かったことは、申し訳なかったというふうに思います。
But that's a fact, and I regret that the response in that manner was not good.
ただし、品質部門の仕事が、いろいろ反省するべきことはございますが、品質部門のものがしっかり受けてたというふうには理解をしておりますし、そう信じていただいております。
Would you turn over? I'm sorry.
Of course, there are things that we reflect upon, but I believe that the people in the quality division responded to that very adequately. That's my understanding, and I hope you understand.
I would like to ask you to turn over to the committee any documentation, any memos that arose out of that meeting by the regulators in the United States coming to Japan.
アメリカのその3つの人が日本に行ってミーティングをしたと、その時の文書とかメモとかすべてを提出してくださいと。
はい、わかりました。
All right.
I understand. I'll do that.
Now, I want to read you a little bit of an email I received from a constituent who owns a Toyota Tacoma truck that they purchased in 2008. Soon after we bought the truck, we began to notice that the engine would surge when we were stopped and had our foot on the brake. We took the truck into the dealer as soon as we started to notice these problems. We returned at least 3 more times with the same problem. They had a service person test drive it. They told us they were unable to duplicate the problem. My wife finally asked to speak to the head of the service department, and he told her that the truck needed to get used to her driving style and to give it a few months to make the adjustments. In exasperation, they went to the internet. They found similar complaints. We told the service people at the agency about what we found on the internet, and they said that they had contacted Toyota, and Toyota told them that they had never had a complaint of that nature we described. They continued to blame the problem on my wife. Now, I would like for you to review this particular complaint and report back to me, but more importantly, I hope that moving forward, you never again use the excuse that it was driver error.
ドライバーエラーという口実は決して使わないで、それから今の点はレビューして。
タコマの件に関しては私今把握しておりませんので、しっかりとですね、文書なりご説明はさせていただきたいと思います。そして決してそのお客様のせいにする、というようなことが、今後二度とないよう、私が、最高責任者として、徹底をして、参りたいというふうに思っております。
I didn't know about this Tacoma case, but we would like to give a due explanation on that through documents or other means. And as CEO of the company, I will make sure that we will never ever blame the customers going forward.
Thank you. One last question. You said safety first, Mr. Toyota. We know that the electronic throttle control may be problematic. You've already decided to put the brake override chip into models moving forward. You are going to do it for some models retroactively. Would you be willing for a customer who came into your dealership to offer that chip to anyone who had concerns about the safety of their vehicle?
安全問題に心配を持っているすべての人に対しては、そのディーラーに来てその BOS
それ技術的なことはちょっと分かりかねますが、技術的にかつそれで、技術的に可能じゃなくて何か方法があれば、それは、やっていくというふうに思いますが、今ちょっとその辺の答えの仕方よく分かりません。
I do not know the technical details, but if it is technically and engineeringly possible, or if we can find a good method, we will do that. But other than that, I do not know a good answer to that.
All right, thank you.
And now call on the gentlewoman from Ohio.
From California.
I'm sorry, from California, Congresswoman Watson, from California.
Thank you so much. Yes. May I say to you, konnichiwa and arigato gozaimasu for your testimony. And mine is more a comment, and Mr. Chairman, I'm going to concede my time because we do have another panel and there's another committee waiting for this room. But currently, about 8 million Toyota vehicles have been recalled in this country due to the sudden unintended acceleration events and braking concerns. And I hope that the interest shown here in America will be taken back so that you can fix whatever is causing this, and we hear it's computer-driven, these causes. So I would hope that, and there's a saying that Kaiser Permanente uses, I hope we all thrive. I hope you thrive. But we're concerned about the victims. They're going to be the next panel up. And I was hoping we could get both panels together so they can explain what happened to them and you can comment. But a word to the wise, and that is listen closely, make a commitment to go back and make the decisions at the top so that your particular product will be, again, #1. And with that, I will say konbawa and arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you, Ms. And I will yield back my time.
Thank you, gentlewoman from California, for yielding back her time. And of course, I recognize now the gentlewoman from Ohio.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Toyota and your associates, thank you for coming today. Mr. Toyota, I am not satisfied with your testimony. I'm being very forthcoming. I do not feel it reflects sufficient remorse for those who have died. And I do not think you have accurately reflected the large number of complaints that have been filed with Toyota for nearly a decade. So I, as one member, am disappointed. I dedicate my testimony in memory of Mrs. Guadalupe Alberto, age 76, from Flint, Michigan, who died when her 2005 Toyota Camry sped out of control and crashed into a tree. Business Week reports she blew past an intersection. Witnesses saw her with both hands on the wheel. She appeared to be standing on the brake while steering. Where is the remorse? As far back as 2002, NISTA, and our government is at fault too, records that 2 Toyota executives, Christopher Tinto and Christopher Santucci, both of whom were former NISTA employees hired by your company, worked with their former co-workers, Scott Yu and Jeffrey Quant, at NISTA when it decided it wouldn't investigate what they termed longer duration incidents involving uncontrollable acceleration. I call it sudden death acceleration, where brake pedal applications allegedly had no effect. NISTA limited its investigation to those situations where it was a second or under a second. That was a major decision that affected lives all through this decade. So I am disappointed. This book, The Toyota Way, is used in business schools across this country. And the author talks about your company's principles. Principle number 5 reads, build a culture of stopping to fix problems to get quality right the first time. Mr. Toyota, how did Toyota lose its way? You say in your testimony your company grew too fast. Some smart lawyers gave you those words. I think what happened was your company went from emphasizing long-term quality values and corporate responsibilities to fighting against safety regulations, against insider influence inside this city and your own capital in Japan, and environmental regulations, and indeed worker rights and card checks inside your companies. So is it the Toyota way to use insider dealing to change decisions? And is it the Toyota way to push a deregulation agenda that works against the interests of the people of our country and other countries? Do you know how many people in Japan died because of what your company did?
交通事故で、しかも私どもの車で、そうやって命なくされた方、怪我をされた方、今ご指摘あった方々に限らず、大変、申し訳なく思っておりますし、心からご冥福をお祈りしたいというふうに思っております。
Not just limiting to those individuals you specifically mentioned, I feel deeply sorry for those people who lost their lives or who were injured by traffic accidents, especially those in our own cars. And I extend my sincerest condolences to them from the bottom of my heart.
で、私は今、日本から、ここの公聴会に、足を運び、世界の方々に、真摯に、気持ちと私の心を一生懸命伝えているつもりでございますが、なかなか説明が足りないというご指摘、これも謙虚に、反省をしたいというふうに思います。
I came from Japan to appear at this hearing, but at the same time, I have been trying to convey my sincere feelings, my own true beliefs to the people throughout the world. But the fact that you said that was not adequate is something that I will seriously reflect upon. Thank you.
で、確かにいろいろご指摘のありました、トヨタの人材が、その拡大のスピードについていかなかった、というその現実を真摯に認め、今後、トヨタをより良い車を作る会社、より透明性のある会社に変えていくのが、私の社長としての役割と使命だというふうに思っております。
As you pointed out, the development of people, human resources at Toyota may not have kept pace with the pace of expansion. I will observe that and look at that fact very sincerely. And going forward, to bring about and effect changes to become a better car maker and to become a more transparent car maker, I think is the role and mission of myself as president.
で、トヨタのお客様の中には、自分はこれからもトヨタを買うよと言ってくれるお客様も私の周りにはたくさんおられます。そういうお客様が、少しでもおられる限り、自分は一生その事故で犠牲になられた方々の重さを抱えながら、お客様のために頑張りたいと思いますし、自分が唯一トヨタをそちらに持っていくリーダーシップが発揮できる男であるというふうに思っております。
However, some customers of Toyota, as a matter of fact, many customers of Toyota around me say that they are willing to continue buying Toyota vehicles going forward. And as long as there are such customers feeling and accepting the gravity of those victims of traffic accidents, I think it is my responsibility to care for those customers and create cars for those customers. And I believe that I'm the only person who can display the leadership to transform Toyota in that direction.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. And I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Missouri, Congressman Clay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank the witnesses for being here. Mr. Toyota, yesterday, David Gilbert, Associate Professor of Automotive Technology at Southern Illinois University, testified that Toyota has an electronic problem, a conclusion he derived from testing that only took him 3.5 hours. I'd note that his credentials are significant, and he's very qualified to do this testing. Toyota has announced that to help solve this problem, Toyota will begin to install brake override systems on your cars. Isn't it true that if what Dr. Gilbert testified to, that Toyota has an electronics problem, you cannot be certain that a brake override system would even kick in and work when your electronics malfunction?
電子スロットルの問題で私どもも、今日ここに来るまでの間、徹底的に、再現をしろという指示のもと、いろんな再現テストを本当に24時間体制でやってまいりました。 今までやった限り、問題は出てないというのが私どもでございます。昨日、ギルバート教授から、そういうことがあるよということがございましたので、どういう試験をやられたかは私は把握はしておりませんが、私どものトヨタ対ギルバート教授という、形ではなかなかですね、どっちがどっちになりますので、ぜひこれは業界全体として、まだまだ解決できない問題があるということでございますので、私ども、ぜひオープンな場でですね、そういう検証をして、一日も早く、すべての車に乗られるお客様が、安全に乗れるようなことを、トヨタも協力してやってまいりたいというふうに思います。
With respect to this problem of electronic throttle control system, I gave instruction to conduct thorough duplication and reproduction test. And we have conducted actually numerous reproduction duplication tests on 24-hour basis, but thus far we have not identified any problem with our ETC system. I know of this testimony given by Professor Gilbert yesterday, and I personally do not know the details of what sort of testing he conducted, but the confrontation between Toyota and Professor Gilbert will not clarify which side is correct. And this means that there are problems that has not been resolved for the entire industry. And therefore, in the open forum to validate the situation, we are willing to conduct testing together so that our customers will be able to feel safe in the vehicles as quickly as possible, and Toyota is ready to extend cooperation in that regard.
And thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Please allow me to give a little more. I have a little more information about that. Will be glad to meet with him or have him meet with our engineers, and then explain his test method, and if there is any input that he may have, we are willing to listen to any input he has for the UA issue. But we have some concerns, as far as we know, and our engineers gave us some concerns about it, because he cut into a circuitry and then manipulated the system in a way that is very unrealistic. And also, in the meantime, with a very short time, we have conducted, if some other manufacturers' cars would perform the same, we have done 3 cars done already with a very low UA rates. In other words, they are considered to be a very safe car. And it replicated the same way. So, in my very amateur term, it is not an unintended acceleration. It is an intended manipulation.
So you have determined it's not electronic, but I would hope you would get with Professor Gilbert.
Absolutely.
And compare your notes, compare your testing to make a determination on whether it is or isn't.
Sir, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired. Now call on the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Driehaus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank our witnesses for their time today and for coming in and testifying before the committee. Mr. Inaba, I'm concerned about some of what you say in your testimony relative to what we have learned about Toyota employees and former NHTSA employees, and as has been explored by multiple members here today, there seems to be a conflict, or there certainly seems to be an effort on the part of former NHTSA employees now employed by Toyota or formerly employed by Toyota to put a halt to some of these investigations. And I'll just refer to the Business Week article on February 12th. And it said, in one example of Toyota aide's role, Mr. Santucci testified in a Michigan lawsuit that the company and NHTSA discussed limiting an examination of unintended acceleration complaints to incidents lasting less than a second. That's what Representative Kaptur was referring to. It goes on to say that all 4 of the probes the Toyota aides helped end We're into complaints that the unintended acceleration was caused by flaws in the vehicle's electronic throttle systems. Do you believe that had these efforts not been made to limit these investigations, that Toyota as a company would have reacted more quickly and NHTSA would have reacted earlier to some of the problems that we're now addressing today in terms of the number of accidents and the severity of these accidents?
Well, I don't know any of the specific incident or occurrence that you have mentioned. But as I said, I believe in two of our associates' very high ethnic standard and also their integrity. So I have other good reasons to believe in that rather than just hinting that they may have some relationship and favor us. I think they have done, and also on the NHTSA part, they are very, very professional team of people.
Well, just to follow up, so you're suggesting that they didn't engage in this behavior to try to limit the investigations, and is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know how to, all I'm saying is that they are, whatever they have done is within the very good ethical sort of code.
My question, though, is if the investigations had not been limited, would we have addressed the situation earlier than we are today?
I think it is a very issue that, since I don't know the conversation or event, I would not make any more comment on that.
Also, Mr. Inabe, in your testimony earlier, you suggested that the information in Europe with regard to some of these challenges wasn't shared with folks in the United States. I personally find that hard to believe, that Toyota here in the United States was unfamiliar with what was going on in terms of recalls and addressing sudden acceleration problems in Europe. So I just want to make sure that I have this right. So you are saying that Toyota of America was not aware of the efforts by Toyota to address the sudden acceleration issues in Europe when that was going on?
Well, I must say that it is, we call in our term, sticky pedal issues. Okay? And I think the truth is that Toyota American side was not aware of that or was not informed of that. That is true. That's all I know.
So when that was going on, when those complaints were being addressed, when solutions were being created and a recall was taking place in Europe, you were unaware of that here in the United States?
I personally got to know that fact in January this year.
I will just conclude with a case, and I'm encouraged by the fact that my folks in Cincinnati, when I went to the Toyota dealership and I went to the service department, said they hadn't seen any of these complaints. But then when I went back and looked at the NHTSA records, it was pretty clear that there were multiple complaints about sudden acceleration. And I will just reflect upon this one that I saw, and it's a complaint from 2009. And the gentleman says, I bought my 2005 Tacoma about 2 months ago. I've experienced this problem 3 times now. The last time being tonight after picking up my daughter at work. The truck was accelerating and was literally standing on the brake, and the engine was racing and would not stop. I threw it into neutral and it sounded like it was going to explode. I have no rugs in the vehicle. I did not come with any, and I was going to get all the weather mats, but have not bought them yet. The cruise control was not engaged. I do not consider myself to be an inexperienced driver. I used to race, actually, and he goes on. But clearly this isn't a mat problem. This isn't a sticky pedal problem. This is a problem with an experienced driver experiencing sudden acceleration. And this is in a 2005 Tacoma. I think we certainly as a Congress want to know, and I think the American people want to know, if their vehicles are safe. And if you can stand here today and tell us that they don't risk, because of a computer issue or an electronic issue, sudden acceleration in Toyotas that are on the street today.
今の2005年、2009年のそのタコマに関しては、ちょっと把握しておりませんので、その具体的なことに対しては、お答えできないかもしれませんが、電子スロットルに関して申し上げますと、今までの段階では、私ども何をやっても現象出てきておりませんので、安全だというふうに思っております。しかしながら、今後ですね、先ほどのギルバート教授だとか、いろんな方々の意見も取り入れながら、よりオープンな場で、そして業界全体に発展していくような形での検証は進めてまいりたいというふうに思っております。
I do not know the Tacoma case of 2005 or 2009, and therefore, without knowing those specifics, I cannot give you any specific answer. But if I may just refer to electronic throttle control system, to the extent that we have conducted various tests thus far to date, we have not encountered the same phenomenon as a result of that test. And therefore, I believe the vehicle is safe. However, going forward, we are willing to work together in an open forum with the industry partners to validate this situation, introducing opinions of other people, including Professor Gilbert, for that matter.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me say that, first of all, really appreciate your coming to testify, and we really appreciate that. We look forward to your follow-up on the safety issue, because as I indicated to you, this is what this is all about. It's about safety, making certain that when people get into cars that they are safe. And we hope that you continue to work on that. And let me say to you, Mr. Toyota, I want you to know that I'm impressed with the fact that you came voluntarily to come before the committee to testify. I want you to know that that to me indicates your commitment, indicates your dedication, and that you're serious about making certain that these autos are safe. So I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank you, Mr. Naba, for your being in touch and understanding the fact that this is a serious issue that must be addressed. Anything else you want to say to the...
Mr. Chairman, if I could just echo your words and say that a great many promises were made here today, commitments for change. We look forward to seeing that. As somebody who has worked with the Society of Automotive Engineers for many years, I look forward to that change being spread throughout the design industry in QS 9000 and other standards, because I believe that what we have begun here today is going to be critical for all automobile manufacturers, particularly as we put more electronic systems in the car. And I, again, thank you for your great distance and your patience through this long day. Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent that both of our booklets of inclusions be put into the record at this time.
Without objection, recognize the gentlewoman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just ask unanimous consent to include materials in the record attendant to my questioning.
Without objection. So thank you very, very much for coming. And now we go to our third panel.
Push that.
Yeah.
Green light means it's on.
Yeah, okay.
Mic check, test 1, 2. Mic check, test 1, 2. Mic check, test 1, 2, 3. Mic check, test 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check, test 1, 2, 3, 4.
Green is on.